Katie, and this is my Heartlight Nikolai. And tonight we are going to just be having great conversation about Greenland so that we can share with you more about Greenland, where you can learn things you may not have known or heard about. And since Greenland has been in the spotlight a lot lately, it's more of a reason to help. I call it educating you, so that you're hearing it straight from us because we live here, and because a lot of times the things that you hear from other people can either be a misnomer about something, or they don't know what they're talking about. And there's an old saying, I don't know if you, I know growing up I used to hear this: if you told one person the truth about something and you told them the story, and it might be a short story or it might be a long story, and then that person told the second person, and the second person told the third person, and it keeps going on, and the story's being told exponentially before it's over with. By the time it gets to the other end, the story's completely different. And I know this because in a college class that I took that had to do with speech, we did that little experiment where one person told us, gave a sentence, whispered it into the ear of the first person, they whispered it ear into the next, and it went all the way around the room, and then we had the last person repeat what was told to them, and it was completely different. That's the problem with human beings. They cannot tell the story straight. They'll embellish it, or they never really heard what was commented on to begin with, so they just repeat what they think they heard with no understanding of what they actually heard. So we're hoping by sharing Greenland with you guys and telling you stories and sharing myths and mythology, the history of Greenland, what it's like to live here. We're hoping that it'll help open more eyes. So let me say hello to who's in the channel right now. Hi, Joyce. Welcome, welcome. Hello, Rebecca. Hello, Lori Colgan. Hello, Gladys. And I'm so happy to see all y'all. So here's the plan for today. There's a poll. Let me read the poll, and I'll be repeating myself on this poll a couple of times. The poll is, what year did Greenland establish self-governance? Now, when you read that question, think about what that means. That's not stipulating anything about independence or autonomy. Think about how that question's worded, and then think about when you think that Greenland established its first government. So that's the question. And then later, I'm going to ask you a question that says, what year did Greenland become autonomous from Denmark, or became its own entity? That'll be the second question, and I'll list some years for you to guess on. Okay, so we're going to leave the poll going for a little while, and then we'll come back to that. And so here's what we'll be talking about tonight. We'll be talking about cryolite, because right now, cryolite, the history of cryolite when it relates to Greenland has been being discussed in a drastic way over the last 2 or 3 weeks, because there was a documentary that hit Denmark this past, week ago?
Yeah, I think so.
About a week ago. And it's shocking, some of the stuff that's been discussed in the documentary. We're just going to talk about it in a short way, and also what cryolite was used for, what is cryolite, and why it was being mined during World War II with United States and Denmark doing the mining, and how what did Greenland get from the mining of cryolite. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about native foods, and we're going to show you some of the native foods. They're in their frozen state, but you should be able to tell what it looks like. We're going to talk about books. We have some books we want to share, and we're going to read a little bit out of the books. We're going to talk about ulus and what they are. We're going to talk about tupeleks and what they are. I have some examples of tupeleks. And then Nikolai's going to tell you guys a story about the Kividoc. Now, we've brought up the Kividoc before, but he's going to tell a story that's being told right now by people all over Greenland. And so when we start that story, try to listen hard, because it's difficult to tell it into English from Greenlandic. So Um, I'm hoping that all of y'all will enjoy this segment. I'm really excited about sharing these things with you because I want y'all to love this country as much as I love this country. And it has a lot to share with the world, but it also needs to be kept the way it is as far as nature and things like that. So, you want to say something, baby?
Oh, not for the moment, but just hi to everybody for the moment that those are inside the chat is what I can say for the moment.
Yeah, I put him on the hot spot. So the first thing I think I want to talk about is we're going to talk about he brought home some cards, and these cards, one of the cards is called the Greenlandic Myths, the Man of the Moon, and the Mountain Spirit. And I also have this book that he brought home called the Man of the Moon, and we're going to talk about it a little bit as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the cards to you. So the first one is the Greenlandic myths. Mythologies are deeply rooted in Inuit and Greenlandic culture. In the old days, myths had useful functions and played a central role in the Greenlandic culture and society. These stories were passed down through generations, helped Greenlanders to understand the world around them. They helped to explain the natural phenomena and convey history and identity, as well as ethics and morals. Remember that, ethics and morals. From a Western perspective, the myths may seem grotesque and at times incoherent and paradoxical, but they reflected the harsh and unpredictable Arctic environment in which people lived. Many Greenlandic myths contain ethical messages and moral lessons. They encourage respect for nature, animals, and other people, and warn against greed, selfishness, and other negative behaviors. These messages help maintain order in society and ensure harmony between people and nature. The myths often contain figures such as spirits and spiritual beings, which Greenlanders believe had the power to influence their lives. Through ritual actions, amulets, and tattoos, they sought to maintain favorable relations with these supernatural beings to ensure prosperity, health, and protection. The myths also served as entertainment and had a social function in the Greenlandic culture. When shared through oral storytelling or drum dancing, they created community and strengthened the bond between members of society. Myths are a living part of the Greenlandic culture, and they change and adapt over time. This is due to the oral transmissions, which can vary from place to place and be nuanced with the storyteller's own personal contribution. With the introduction of Christianity and later Western influence, some aspects of the myths have been affected, but Greenlanders continue to cherish and appreciate their cultural heritage by preserving and sharing their myths today. So what I'm going to do is first we'll move over to Man of the Moon in a few minutes. Well, I shared this book the other day with you guys. This book is an illustrated guide to mythical creatures, spirits, and animals of Greenland. And inside of it, it has a lot of very great graphic pictures. And Nikolai's going to help me with saying the Greenlandic part of it because some of the names I will struggle with. This book is in honor of my ancestors and everyone I love. This is by the author. And then I'll read a little bit to you from the book about what this book is about. 5 years ago, I was reading some old Greenlandic stories when I came across mythological creatures I didn't recognize. I was intrigued, and it prompted me to start looking out for other mythological creatures in my heritage. In time, my hobby turned into a passion when I realized that I had grown up knowing only a fraction of them. The more I discovered, the more I began to appreciate the vastness of our world of old spirits and creatures. Whenever I asked other people here in Greenland, they too could usually name only a handful, but they were always delighted when I told them that the number of mystical creatures was much higher. I became attracted to the idea of examining and mapping all the creatures that live in our stories. This has now become a reality in this book.
Hi, Norma.
Hey, y'all. Hey, Norma. Hi, Joyce. Oh, I already said hi to Joyce. Okay. And this is by Jens Rossing. The star of paganism has lost its shine, but it won't be extinguished as long as the northern lights dance in the sky, as long as storms rage and the swells beat the bedrock, as long as the wind, the current, and the touch of the sun send icebergs drifting. Okay, so a brief history of Greenland. In the beginning, it was cold. Greenland's history and landscape was shaped by paradoxical conditions, from several months of total darkness to some of the constant light, from double-digit freezing temperatures to warm summers, which were relatively warm. Given how much vitamin D we need to even survive, the fact that people still live in Greenland today may surprise those who inhabit warmer and sunnier latitudes. Survival in Greenland has always required immense willpower, stamina, and determination, and there have been enormous losses along the way. It could be argued that the early Greenlandic history, which began about 2500 BCE, is characterized by a shocking amount of death. It is believed that 6 different cultures tried unsuccessfully to establish themselves in Greenland before the ancestors of today's Greenlanders made their arrival. These cultures include the rather primitive Sakkak, which you've heard me talk about, one of the first immigrant cultures. The Dorset and Lake Dorset were exciting and fast-evolving cultures that may have met and inspired our Greenlandic ancestors in terms of spirit worshiping and artistic expression. One of the last immigrant cultures was the Norsemen, descendants of the Icelandic Vikings, who would encounter our Greenlandic ancestors from time to time, and who very likely also inspired some hair-raising accounts of pale beings who lived in the far south of the land. All these cultures had one thing in common. They failed to survive in Greenland's tough and often rapidly changing landscape. Their failure, however, is by no means surprising, as the climate even today, despite every modern invention and precaution, can still cause whole towns to be abandoned for short or occasional long periods. This makes it all the more impressive that one culture managed not only to populate the country through slow nomadic migration, but also because the ancestors of today's Greenlanders, the Thule culture, it was a tough, brutal culture. The Thule culture was in many respects a far superior culture compared to previously mentioned immigrants. Sorry, guys. Most importantly, the people were extremely well adapted to climate and the tough living conditions that resulted from it, because they descended from people who for hundreds of generations had lived a nomadic life in and around the Bering Strait between what is today Russia and Alaska. The family structure was simple but strictly defined. Men hunted, and women turned what the men caught into food, clothing, and anything else that was needed. Nothing from the hunt was wasted. Children were brought up according to these rules. Summer, spring, and as much of autumn as the weather permitted was spent traveling up and down the coast by kayak and umiak. Umiak, or did I say that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, umiak. And I'll tell you what umiak means in a minute. To hunt and gather food for the winter. A couple of families might travel and camp together, but it was also possible to camp slightly further away from your family, an arrangement popular with young lovers. The custom of leaving your settlement during warmer weather also allowed people to meet at larger summer camps known as Asivik, in order to trade and build relationships and exchange stories and experiences. There are also plenty of opportunity to exchange DNA, either through wife swapping or during, I don't know how to say that word, which means the lights out game. Both were customs designed to ensure strong and healthy offspring and to prevent inbreeding in small and scattered populations. While the sun made various social get-togethers and different social structures possible, winter was restricted. It was the time when one or two families might share a primitive cabin, and together they would see out the dark and cold months. Winters could be brutal and commonly resulted in several deaths every year, yet there was one thing that made the Thule culture far better equipped to life in the Arctic region than the previous settlers. They had perfected transport, which meant not only could they move faster and better than any previous culture, but they could also hunt more efficiently. The kayak and the umiak and the sledge, which enabled hunters to hunt and fish quickly and easily all year round, were well-known examples. So you probably have heard the word kayak all over in English. This is the English spelling. This is kayak. But this is actually the Greenlandic word kayak. Same sound. So the kayak actually came from Greenland. They are the maker. The Thule age is who made the kayak. And the umiak, and let me spell that in the channel because I don't have that on a card. Hey, Mona. And hello, Brenda H. Hello, Lana. And I hope I didn't miss you. So umiak is spelled like this, and umiak means woman's boat. And that's how women and children traveled with the hunters who were in kayaks hunting.
The rower, at the back of the rower is usually an old man that cannot no longer use a kayak. He'll be one that guiding the umiak. Yeah.
The improvement in hunting efficiency led to a more stable life, a life no longer dominated by day-to-day survival that had characterized previous cultures. This in turn meant more to other activities and new inventions in hunting, handicrafts, lifestyle, and especially entertainment. As hunting methods improved, various forms of entertainment became a major and well-integrated part of the Thule culture because people now had a luxury of time to sing, to play, and to tell stories. And yet the balance between exuberant survival and catastrophic and death remained a very delicate one. Although the Thule culture was successful, surviving was hard work and lives were always at stake. The slightest change could have huge consequences, and nature continued to be one of the biggest threats, which was tough, capricious, and unforgiving, yet also beautiful and magnificent. The Thule people were a hunter-gatherer culture with emphasis on hunter. They depended completely on animals they hunted and fished, which meant that even seemingly minor changes in the distribution of animals could mean feast or failure, or feast or famine. It is also important to bear in mind that the Thule culture wasn't a large population that arrived as one and then spread across Greenland, but a collection of small groups consisting of a few families at most who lived together. As a result, these small communities were very vulnerable to change and to poor hunting and fishing. Given that nature played such a huge role and it was such a decisive force in their lives, it is no wonder that the Thule culture had to personify and make it alive and tangible in an abundance of stories and myths. So this book is about their mythical creatures. And it also, Sela means weather. And it talks about the weather, spells, and taboos. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share a few of these pictures with you. Okay, how do you say that one?
Ayumak.
This one's called Ayumak. And this creature is the sleeved one. It is known and feared across all of Greenland. It has served as a helper spirit to some of the greatest Agagu and Gut, the T, such as Naya Meritzi, and I can't say that word. And others. Its body is similar to that of a human being, but it has a long, slender arms that are black from elbows down. Each hand has only 3 fingers and each foot only 3 toes. The head is described as a bald dog's head or as a skeletal dog's head with large piercing eyes, and it floats across the ground, and everything it touches, everything touched by its long fingers soon rots, including people. It speaks like whispering ghosts, but can also be very loud when it announces its arrival. There are many different stories about this particular spirit. Not only acts as a helper spirit, but also as a creature of vengeance when used for attacking enemies. It often accompanies the Angakuk on their spirit journey to other worlds, as its strength makes powerful weapons against evil spirits or enemies wanting to kill on its travels. So, yeah. All of these tie into things that has to do with nature, how you treat nature. So, like we've talked about Mother of the Sea, and how that when hunters couldn't hunt or fish because there was no fish or animals to hunt, they felt like they had angered Mother of the Sea. And then you have a shaman going to commune with Mother of the Sea because she lived under the water. She had long flowing hair and she'd have garbage in it. And while the shaman was talking to her, he would be brushing all this garbage out of her hair. And surrounded by Mother of the Sea and the shaman were all the animals that she had brought into her because she was angered by how the people were treating nature because they were being disrespectful. And so while the shaman was making peace and brushing her hair and appeasing her, by the time it was over with, she had clean hair, it was long and flowing and beautiful again. And she set free all the animals. And this is part of the belief. And this particular story has been told for 5,000 years. And it's been shared from generation to generation to generation to generation, that you don't take more than you need. You don't leave nature in a mess. You leave it the way you found it. When you sacrifice an animal, meaning you dispatch an animal for food, you use all of it you can use of it, and you do it in a humane way. There's no torture done to these animals or anything like that that can cause them to suffer, or they could end up with the wrath of one of the spirits on them. Okay. Hey, hello, Quiltanon and Brenda. Okay. The next one is called the giant. I'm just going to show you pictures. I'm not going to tell all the stories because there's bunches of these. The next one is called Asik, the giant worm. The giant worm that appears in many different stories across Greenland is so big that the earth around it trembles when it is killed, and the meat is described as almost pure blubber. It has impressive stamina and can pull heavy loads without stopping, which makes it the perfect draft animal, although it can be very temperamental, and as a result, it requires great strength and patience to tame it. It is easily angered and can be very dangerous to strangers. So this is what Hi, Alicia. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Don't forget to do the poll.
Hi, Laura.
Because we're going to do another poll behind it. Hey, Laura, sup? The next one, you get to say this one.
That one or that one? That one?
Both of them look, well, the other one, there's not a picture to the other one, right? No, there's not. So just this one.
I have a pick.
The giant walrus is a giant walrus that often turns up in connection with a spirit journey or when an apprentice undergoes his last test to become a full-fledged which is helper spirit, I guess. In East Greenland, it is better known as the
fuck.
Wow, what a word. And it's sometimes described as having short, stubby legs and a horn on its nose or on its back rather than the familiar long tusk of a walrus. It is often found with another spirit, and together they help They help another spirit on its journey to the spirit world, either by eating him or throwing him around. Okay, the next one is I wish I would tell what the English what this translates to. The next one is called Aku. Those who can't get rid of are the kind of inverted conscious that makes you do only bad things. They appear in the shape of a man, a woman, and even a child. They are so thoroughly malicious that no flesh can grow on them. These spirits walk at everybody's heels, and whenever you feel an urge to do something you know you are not allowed to do, they will whisper in your ear, go on, do it, do it. It is very tempting to give in to them. Their only aim is to make sure that people do the wrong or forbidden things. That's interesting. That one looks interesting.
Oh.
You get to say that one because I'm not saying that word. This means the gut eater. Is sometimes described as a hideous and grotesque old crone. At other times, she is merely a woman with a face that is wider than it is long. Oh, yeah, this is the interesting face one. Longer than it is wide. And when she turns around, you can see her huge crotch. And when she bends forward, whoa. Okay, I'm going to skip that part. When she bends to the side, her cheek will slap loudly above her hip. One or two big sculpins hang from, yeah.
Oops.
Oh, this one's naughty. She will attack anyone who laughs and will try and make a person laugh when she beats a keelet. Is that how you say that?
What?
It's right here.
Kidat?
With her ulu. If there is even a hint of a smile at the corner of a person's mouth, she will cut out his intestines and liver and other organs and do bad things. But look at her face. I'm not sure if this says anything about why they talk about this one. Okay. Let's skip over. Oh, here's a mask one. We've seen these in the okay, this one's called
Kiappa.
The Big Mask. It's a giant mask with arms and legs, but no body or head. It can frighten people to death by appearing in front of them, and it can possess people and make them sick by stealing their souls. When a person is possessed, their body will be covered with big bruises and they will suffer from terrible fits. If someone dies while still possessed by the Kalapa, their corpse might awaken with a scream and jump around. We've seen these kind of masks hanging in the museum.
It's like during summertime when everybody's gathered around in big groups, there are some people that dress with those masks and scare the crap out of other people.
So they like to tell. It seems like that part of the culture of Greenland is telling scary stories, right?
Yeah.
So they'll sit around around a camp. Even now, you'll see people at the lake during the summer months, and they'll have a big bonfire going on down there at the lake. And of course, they'll be drinking and whatever, but they'll be telling ghost stories while they're sitting around the campfire. Let me see. The big star. Okay, this one's called Nalasik, the Vega star. Nalasik is the big star of Vega that tells the time during the dark period in East Greenland. He wears an igiak with white embroidery and is handy with a bow and arrow. He is often seen with Inuit, whom he accompanies from the sky when they come down to visit the world of humans. He's wearing an anorak.
He's a star, like
yeah, that's cool. Remember, I told you these were I told you at the beginning about these could be scary stories. I'm trying to find some that's not so scary. Oh, what's this one? The little ones. Okay, now you get to say that one. Yeah, I can never say that because of that right there.
Yeah.
It's got those two L's in it. The little one's ready to jump. That's what the word means. And let me put it in the channel so you can see what he just said. And then he'll repeat it. Which means the little ones ready to jump. They are little people who live deep inland in small peak cabins and who turn into ptarmigans. A ptarmigan is a bird, seabird. They can't sit still and are always delighted to have visitors. A young woman had a falling out with her parents and decided to head to the mountains to become a kividoc. When she had been walking for some time, she came across lots of little people who were happy to invite her to live with them. She even married one of them because she was contented there. One day, she was cleaning the skins of earless seals that her husband had caught for her. She heard a whooshing sound behind her. When she looked around, all her new friends had disappeared and a flock of ptarmigans were flying around her. When she turned back to her skins, they had been turned into piles of peat moss. That looks like another scary one. Yeah. Might as well keep it. That's the one we're just right.
Yep.
Okay. You heard me mention the word kividu. Kivitalk. Is that the same thing?
That's the multiple.
Means many wanderers. Okay, gotcha. So say, let me
Kivitu.
Kivitu, which means many wanderers. C-I-V-I-T. Oops. Mountain wanderers are known and found across all of Greenland in older as well as recent times. They are created when someone leaves their settlement in shame, in anger, or in grief. This person will walk far across the mountains or the ice cap in order to sever contact with all other people and live either in solitude or together with other Kividu. It's just like a hermit in the United States. They are often dressed in hair or fox skin and wear kamek boots made from twigs of different roots or leather straps. Their eyes are red and their hair and beards are matted and often very blonde or completely white. The skin on their faces has become very dark. Being touched by the kividoc can be very dangerous as it can cause infected wounds. If you want to acquire magic powers as a kividoc, you must undergo certain trials and lose all your humanity in order to achieve total transformation. At first, you must spend 5 days freezing to death. Once you become a kividoc, you never die from the cold, and you never need to fear that you don't have a roof over your head if you can't find a cave or unable to build a house. As a kividoc, you can also talk about some animals. The first animal you eat as a kividoc is the animal you will always sound like when you open your mouth. So if you eat a ptarmigan, you will cackle like one. And the same goes for a fox or a hare. When a woman is turned into a kividoc, she may at times be transferred into a suck and have exceptional sense of hearing. When you achieve powers as a kividoc, you will also be capable of flying and can often be seen floating across the mountains with a tail of fire trailing behind you or breathing fire out of your mouth. When you fly, you need to tie your legs so that one is stretched out under your body so that you can steer with it. If your legs are not tied, they will spread and thus lower the speed of the flying kividoc. A young man had an aunt who didn't like his girlfriend. It made him deeply unhappy, and he went out to become a kividoc. The women from his settlement decided to avoid the area where he had gone missing, yet were tempted by its many berries. Whenever they went there, they could hear singing to them, but they couldn't see him. His former girlfriend cried so much that all the women started to cry with her. One day he sang that he would marry an Milik, Ekalik, and that his aunt would have to be contented with the family member she would now get, seeing as he had not been allowed to have the woman he loved. From that day onward, they never heard from him again. And this is what the artwork looks like for a give it up. So now you talk about what you hear about the give it up.
Well, in the wintertime, people can gather together for an evening for fun. So during these days, when you talk to each other for fun or try to scare with each other, so some of these that they can bring up that talk stories of what they have heard from other people. It's like there are some areas where some people have seen some, and sometimes they have seen a couples with kids, and sometimes they are dressed like you cannot see them. It's like their clothes are so well aligned with the well with the background that they're invisible for your own eyes unless they snatch you. And I have heard that there was a American couple tourists that landed in Tegasosho, and apparently they've been walking somewhere, not exactly sure where exactly, but suddenly the wife wants to take a pee, so she going into some brushes somewhere and then just vanished, like totally vanished. And what I heard was that the husband, of course, contacted authorities, and they have been huge searching for that woman. They never found her body, not ever. But the husband comes to Greenland every year, go to the nature, try to find her again and again and again every year. Until one day, the wife appeared in front of him, telling him, stop looking after me. I am now a Chivitok married to another Chivitok who has the kids with him. And after that, the husband just don't want to get back here again because he knows that the woman is no longer with him. I don't know about that, Pablo, Pete. We don't know. Whenever we're going to Texas.
That's a good question because I've never been to Texas either, and I was
never been there either.
Yeah, I've only flown through. I think I flung through Dallas. I think it was either Dallas or Houston. I don't remember which. It was get off one plane, get on another one. I don't know. That's probably going to be on one of our little road trips that we're going to plan in the future because we're planning some road trips where we make long distance trip.
That's what I have heard. It's it might be a fiction, it might be true, but of course, Kiwitok is it's real for me, but for her, it's like just a ghost story. But for me, it is true.
Yeah, I'm one of the ones that doesn't believe in ghosts or spirits or anything else. I mean, I believe in God and stuff, but I don't believe that there's demons running around like ghosts. But Greenlanders do so, and I have no right to dish that because I'm not going to. I was going to say something about that too. I guess I've never experienced it, so maybe that's why I don't believe in it. But with the Givedoc, there is actual people who do not live with everybody else. They don't live in these towns or cities or villages or settlements. They live out in the middle of nowhere, and people rarely see them. And that's probably why the story goes on about them all the time. And there's actually, what's the name of that movie, Greenlandic movie? The one that I watched with you that had the Kividok in it?
Yeah.
You remember the name of it?
No, not exactly.
What we'll do is there is a movie about the Kividok. It does have Danish subtext, doesn't it?
I think it was an English subtext.
Yeah, it has like subtext for it. We'll find the name of the movie, and you should have no trouble finding it once we give you the name of it. And if you want to watch it, it's just like watching an American horror story. I mean, I told Nikolai, I said it kind of reminded me a lot of like Friday the 13th, kind of. Because there's a bunch of young people out in the middle of nowhere in a cabin in the movie, and the Kividok comes and steals each one of them one at a time, and they disappear and scares all the ones that are still left. Okay, so yeah, that is a very interesting story. So what I'm going to do, we're going to talk about this book in a minute, but I wanted to share some Greenlandic words. And so this word is, yeah, okay, make sure, because I'm reading this backwards. It's imaka, or how you can say it too.
Imaka.
So you might hear a difference in how he says it and how I say it. It means maybe. This is my first Greenlandic word that I love the most, is imaka. I love saying this word. The next one is isi, and that means our lands.
Nope.
No, that's wrong.
Yep.
No, yeah. Sorry. Isi means cold. Sorry. The next one is Nunata.
Nunetta.
Nunetta. So that A sounds an E sound?
Yeah.
Kinda?
Yeah.
It means Greenland's our lands. So you probably noticed in my living Greenland, it says Greenland. I can't remember how I worded it, but it has to do with this word, Nunetta. Okay. The next one is Ulu. Ulu is a woman's knife, and we're going to be talking about the woman's knife tonight. I am so easy. Yep. Uh-oh, I just dropped two of them on the floor now. Darn it. The next one is Tork. Oh, the D sound. Tork. Now we have a store that's actually spelled this way in our town, right above Pacific. And the word means cool. So the store is named Cool. This one is Quayanak. You can also say Quena, which means thank you. This one is Ilulissat, which means icebergs. And this is a town off the west coast of Greenland. This is where all of the skyscraper-sized icebergs come from. When I mean skyscraper, we're talking humongous ones. It's the same ones that are steered over to Newfoundland. It's also the iceberg, because they all come from Ilulissat. And it's also where the iceberg came from that the Titanic was sunk from an iceberg from Ilulissat. This means this is Namik. Oops. Sorry. Namik. This means no.
Hi, copycat.
Hey there, girl. I haven't seen you in a while. What's been going on? The next one means this is up. That means yes. And you can also use the word SUU, which means Sue, which means yes too. The next one is Amma, which means also, more, or and. And this will be used in other parts of a word, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The next one is mother, which, oops, wrong way. Mother, which means anena. Anena. Grandmother means Anna. So it's shortened of this word. Okay. Father is adada. Those T's are D sounds. Adada. If it's grandfather or grandpa, it's Ada. The next one is Ila.
Ila.
Ila. So on these double consonants, or when you see, it's mostly the consonant, not consonant, vowels, sorry. On the double vowels, you're drawing out the sound. You're supposed to draw it out a little bit. It's like stretch the sound, kind of like. This means right. Like right, question mark, like someone says, you know, so-and-so did this, and the other person says, right? Like that. That's what this is about. The next one is bickery, which means this is a B sound here. Is those K's or G's?
K sound, I think.
Yeah, K sound. I thought so. So bickery means you are so skilled or so good. So I hear this a lot when I talk in Greenlandic in town, and the first few words might be Greenlandic between me and another Greenlander. And I'll get this. They'll say bickery. The next one is Galesset. This is Greenlanders. The next one is my dearest, which is Asa. Now you hear me and Nikolai calling each other Asa. Asa means honey. So it's just the shortened version of this. That means honey. This word is asuk. This means many or lots. So sometimes you've probably seen me write Asavaket asuk. That means I love you very much. And I'm sure I'm not writing it in the proper order because he doesn't correct me or say you need to write it differently or whatever. And that's okay. We've got some more here. Now you're going to have to help me with some of these. So that's a D sound there? Yeah, okay. Etsa means aunt or aunt, depending on where you are in the United States. I'm curious, have you learned the Greenlandic language? Let me. Katie, I'm curious, have you learned the Greenlandic language, or do many Greenlanders speak English? I have about a 60-word vocabulary. I can also understand, like if someone asks me, do you want a receipt in Greenlandic? I know what they're saying to me. The taxi driver will ask me where I want to go in Greenlandic, even though I can't say what he said. I know what he said to me. So I have understanding of quite a bit of Greenlandic. But as far as my articulation, it's around 60 words that I could actually speak and read. With Danish, I don't speak any Danish. None. Zero. But I can read all the Danish in the grocery stores for the most part. Sometimes I get stuck and have to ask him. And when we're in a restaurant, I can read most of the menu in Danish. Every now and then, he can verify this. They'll have a new word on there I've never seen before. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. And so or I'll ask the cashier in English, what does this word mean? The next one is Idu.
Laura Chapin asked you the same question.
That's the question I answered.
Oh, no.
And then my friend down there, she says, oops, same question, great minds.
About common speaking English in public.
Oh, as far as the English part, when I first moved here, in fact, we had this discussion with his sister earlier today because we talked to his sister. She lives in Denmark now, or has for a long time. We were talking about English and Danish and Greenlandic. We were talking about the language. And when I first moved here, the first 2 years, I would come home with tears streaming down my face. And it would even happen when Nikolai was with me, because I would say something to someone in English because that's all I could speak. I used to could speak Spanish, but you know, the old saying, you use it, if you don't use it, you lose it. So eventually over time, it got where I could still read Spanish. I just can't speak any of it, hardly. Some of it, but not much. And so I would come home upset because I couldn't read the labels on the food. You know, even a hunk of meat, I couldn't read it. And if he wasn't with me, then he would get a whole stream of stuff in Messenger. I just don't know what to do. How am I supposed to take care of the house if I can't read or understand? And he would tell me, it'll come, you'll see. And so it started out with just very few people speaking English. But I think that maybe more spoke English than I thought. They just didn't articulate because they're like I was just mentioning about if you don't use it, you lose it. And they could understand what I was saying to them, but they couldn't answer me back. And that was what it was. But now that I've been here for 13 years, I would say half the population can talk to me.
Yeah.
About half the population probably can talk to me in this town in English. And the ones who can speak a little English can still, they speak Greenlandic, and whatever they say in Greenlandic, they tend to keep it simple and I understand what they're saying and I answer them back in Greenlandic. So, and a lot of the Greenlanders here, especially taxi drivers, people who work in the stores, if I say something in Greenlandic, they will help me pronunciate it better, or they'll tell me a different way. Like I walked around, this is a big funny thing about, I walked around saying Kanok Ibit. That means how are you? But I noticed, and because when he came home from sea one day, because his mom and stepdad were staying with us for a little while, she would say a yungi. So when Nikolai came home one day, because her English wasn't as good back then, it was because she also could understand me, but she couldn't articulate because she wasn't practicing English like me practicing Greenlandic. So when he come home, I said, honey, what's the difference between Kanok Ibit and Iyungi? He says, it's the same. I said, so if everybody down here in South Greenland says Iyungi, why do we not use that? And what he was doing was teaching me the proper way of saying, how are you? Which is more of a Northwestern dialect, right?
Yeah.
So I learned both ways, but down here, everybody's lazy. It's Ayungi, and which means how are you? And if you want to say I'm good, you can either say Ayunlanga, or you can say Ayun and be lazy and shorten it. Like, and the word Ayun, and I'll put it in the chat. There is what is this thing doing? Oh, here we go. This is the oops.
G.
There's a G, right? Yeah. This part of this word, there is 720 variations that have that in it. So a yungi means how are you? A yunga. No, that's an A, isn't it? No, it is G E then. Okay. This means I am good, but you can say a what you saw me put up there. What's the other one? Yeah. So those three you'll hear a lot. Okay. Did I miss anything? Hey, Joyce.
Rita's here too.
Who rules Greenland? We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. We're going to talk about that. Who else was here?
Rita.
Hey, Rita. Welcome, welcome. Did I miss any other questions besides the one about who rules Greenland?
Vintage style Joe.
Hey, Joe. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so the next one is called Idu. This is the male head of the family.
Ito.
Itu. It's a T sound?
T sound.
Okay. So what did I do wrong?
No.
Didn't draw it out enough?
Yeah.
Idu. No. Idu.
Ito.
Itu.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so this means male head of the family. Now, I'm Nikolai's wife, and in Greenlandic, it's Nuliar. And I'll spell it in the channel. This means wife. And Uik means husband. See how short that word is? The next one is Abba, and that means
Abba.
Kiss, like child's language. Kiss. Abba.
We only 56,000 here in Greenland, Breda.
Yeah, currently 56,000. Ihu, that means how sweet. And you guys have probably kind of heard this on, you remember on Stargate Atlantis movie that kid says ihu. It sounded like it was, yeah, I'm like, why does that word sound familiar? But it means good. Or no, how sweet, sorry. Inekua?
Inakonak.
Inekan.
Inakonak.
Inekunak. Okay, so this is Inekua.
Inakonak. Inakonak.
That means so cute. New, and ignore the R in this word. It's not supposed to be there because I misspelled it. It's Nuluara.
Naluara.
There's not an R in it though, right?
Naluara.
Yes, that sound. New
Nalu.
Nalua.
Naluara.
Nalua. This means I don't know. Also means I don't know. And of course, the kayak. Okay, so let me show you something real quick. I will post this down in the comment section below the description box. This is a book called it's English, Greenlandic, and Danish, and you probably could actually possibly order this from Amazon. If not, I'll see that bookstore's closing, so I might have to find somewhere else to get it from.
Yeah.
But this is like a it's kind of like a thesaurus because this does not give you definitions. It just gives you all three versions of a word. Let me show you. This is upside down too. No, it's not. Why does it look upside down?
It's because of the book.
How the camera.
Oh.
See, it has Greenlandic. Why did
this is the way it
oh, one of them's upside down. One side, so I must have picked it.
You're about to knock it.
Uh-oh, we cannot knock over the killer whale. Okay, so you have
Need help with that?
English, Greenlandic, and Danish. And it tells you the difference. That looks backwards on the camera. What's the deal here? See it?
Yeah. Good.
There's something with the cameras that's wrong. It didn't show it like that with this one, did it? So anyway, I'll post this in the description box should you be interested in doing your own little research. Okay. Copycat says, I'll have to learn that. I don't know. Yep. I love the one where it's maybe. I love saying maybe in Greenlandic. Himaka. So I say that a lot. Okay.
Yeah, it's a small community here, Laura, but with spread.
We're spread out.
Spread out.
We all live on the outside of the ice caps where we all live at, and we're spread out through all of the only part of Greenland. Where's that? Was it this book that had the map in it? Or was it a different book that had the Greenland map in it?
Yep.
That showed the different parts of Greenland. One of them had a map of it. It's probably, it was at the back of a book or at the beginning of a book.
Oh, here it is.
Okay, this is what Greenland looks like. And you see all of the listings of all the places where people live. So no one lives up here.
That's a national park.
And this is the largest national park in all of the world. Now up this coast, this is the East Coast. You will find satellites and stuff, and they are managed by the military. All of this is managed by the military of Denmark. They also have people on with sledge dogs and sleds, and they patrol this area on a regular basis. We live way down here in the most southern part of Greenland. Down here, right there. Now the Arctic Circle
right here.
Right here.
Right here.
Because here's Manisold.
Yeah.
So right through here. Okay,
yep.
right. So it's south of Kangerlussuaq.
Yep.
Okay, so The Arctic Circle runs right between Sissymoot. We need to go closer so they can see. This is Kangerlussuaq right here, and this is Sissymoot, and the Arctic Circle runs right through here.
A little bit lower.
A little bit lower, of course. And everything here is in south of the Arctic Circle. Everything else is north.
Hi, Jess and Jessie.
Hey, Jessie, and hey, Jessica. Oh my gosh. Hey, Jess. Hey, Jody. Hello, Jessie Miller. Gotcha. Okay, so that's what this looks like. And we all live all along the coastline of the map. Because the ice cap is all across the center of Greenland. And the ice cap is about 2.5 meters. I think it's almost 3 meters thick. Something like that. I don't know. I have to go look that up because I might be wrong. But anyway, if all of the ice melted, let me have that map.
Oh, yeah, here it is. Actually, that means summer camp.
Summer camp. Okay, cool. Where'd that map go? Oh, right here. If all of the ice, which is all in here, all the way down to about right here, if all of this melted, there's this humongous lake here that is 3 times the size of the Grand Canyon. And it has underwater mountains that are bigger than the mountains you see in the Grand Canyon. And this would turn Greenland into an archipelago if the ice all truly melted right here, because there would be no land here in the middle. It's a big, huge freshwater lake that sits up underneath the ice cap.
Michelle is coming.
Hey, Michelle, what'd she say?
This is so interesting.
Laura says, if I were to ever travel to Greenland, mind you, I'm an Arizona girl, when would you suggest I come so I don't freeze to death?
Summertime is the best.
Summertime. Yeah.
Summertime is the best.
The best time to come, yeah. You can come, but most cruise ships usually start coming through here between the tail end of May, if we have no ice down here, all the way to the second week in October is when most you see of the cruise ships. But now that the Nuuk airport is now the international airport, you can now fly starting in June. There will be 2 flights a week that will be going between Nuuk and Newark, New Jersey. And this will happen twice a week. So now it's going to make travel easier to get into Nuuk without having to go via a cruise ship or having to fly from the United States to Denmark and then to Greenland. You'll get to bypass Denmark altogether because you're just going to be on a 4-hour flight versus 9 hours from the East Coast. And if you were flying from the West Coast, it would have been 11 hours if you were flying to Copenhagen. I tried to pull that off, but I was worried I was going to, yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah, it is true, Brenda. It's you can do your own research too, just for the ice cube and the water.
Yeah.
Let's just say this is the ice cube, and you put it in the water. There will be only that much left.
Yeah, 10% on the top, and the rest is underwater.
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. But the more it goes, those that you see up when they're like that much up in the air, that means it's just a few meters that is up, but the rest is huge down at the bottom.
Yeah, especially the ones that come from Ilulissat that end up on the United States East Coast or Canada's East Coast, not United States, sorry. Like Newfoundland. There's a funny thing about Newfoundland. They harvest the ice, and you're going to be like, what do you mean by that? They send boats out to these big, huge icebergs, and they drag them in so that they get stuck along their coastline, and then they start harvesting the ice. And then they turn around and sell that ice to tourists, and they also melt it down for fresh water. Thank you for taking care of all the people that were stranded during COVID. Oh, I did. Yeah, we only had 10 deaths?
Yeah.
We had very little deaths because everybody, I think it's amusing. Well, it's not amusing. Nothing's amusing when it comes to people dying. But when they told us all to shelter in place, we all sheltered in place. This is not run by the communistic people. It's run by a democracy. But when someone asks you to stay in your home so you don't make many people dead, the Greenlanders did that out of respect for each other and out of respect for nature. So out of the whole country, only 10 people died, and those were Inuit. So yeah. Anyway, someone else asked a question. How warm is it in the summertime? The warmest I've seen it here in South Greenland is 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I have heard that it up in Kangerlussuaq, which is still south of the Arctic Circle, but it's usually much colder than here. There was a period of time where that place reached 80 degrees. And that's why the ice cap up there is shrinking faster than the one down here is shrinking. Because the ice cap, because it goes through the center of Greenland, all along the edges is, so many kilometers away from water, or it might be sitting on water. And every time we get this period of warm air, especially if there's southern winds, which is what's driving the melting of the ice cap, is when they get all this wind from the south, it literally will raise the temperature up above freezing, which will be about 33 degrees or 34 degrees because freezing's 32. And it'll hover just just 2 degrees above freezing, and everything starts melting exponentially fast. It's truly amazing and shocking at the same time how quickly it happens. Like we had a blizzard yesterday, which is weird, but the wind was coming from the south. And so when I let Nora out last night, there's this wall of snow where I'm like, oh boy, Nikolai's gonna have to dig us out. Then he got up this morning and he made a path. But when I walked out there later this afternoon, all the snow that was up high on a higher area from us had turned to ice because a lot of it had melted. And when I looked at the lake is missing half the snow that was sitting on top of it. So all of this stuff, has a domino effect. And summertime, the reason we say summertime is the best time to come, because you don't need to wear snow clothes at all. You need a jacket. If you could probably get away with wearing thermals if you need to, depending on where at in Greenland you're at. I don't wear thermals at all during the summer months period because I get hot too easy. And I've gotten where I just wear a zip up hoodie for the most part, or a flannel shirt, and I'm fine with that. Yeah, so that's how warm it is in the summer months. The only time you really feel cold is when the wind blows, and that's the only time that makes me want to wear a sweater or a jacket or a flannel shirt, because I don't like my shoulders to get cold. Anyone else ask a question? I'm holding the question about who runs Denmark or Greenland. Don't forget to do the polls up here because I'm going to talk about. Let's see, we've got how many votes now? 22. Okay. Wow, we're plugging along. Look at that. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. Okay. How long have we been talking now?
Wow.
An hour. Okay, so let's talk about the poll, and then I'll answer that question about Denmark or Greenland. Okay, so the question was, what year did Greenland establish self-governance? For those of you who don't know what that means that's where you didn't have a government and now you have a government. And the government makes rules and laws and whatever Denmark allows Greenland to make. And so basically self-governance controls things like, help me out here. Self-governance. Schools, administration stuff, some medical stuff, but not all of it. The only thing they do everything but this. They don't control money. They don't control foreign affairs, police, the military, because we don't have a military currently. What's the other one? There's one other one. Money, foreign affairs. Oh, and certain types of education. Okay. That's what it doesn't control. Denmark has control of that. Okay, now so the question was, what year did Greenland establish self-governance? 43% of you said 1953. 17% of you said 1979. 9% said 1998. And 30% said 2009. The 17% got the answer right. It was 1979 when they set up self-government. Now, the next poll, because I'm not going to give you the answer, is, so in the poll, I'm going to ask you, when did Greenland become autonomous? And I'm going to put some dates in, and let's see who knows the date, because some of you picked a date in that date. Yeah. When did Greenland become autonomous? What other one do you want me to choose? 2010? 2000? Okay. Okay, now let's see how many of you know the answer to this question. When did Greenland become autonomous? What does autonomous mean? That means that they have control of everything but what I just told you they don't have control of. That means they get to make laws, they get to decide where money is going to go inside of Greenland. They take the money that Denmark gives. There's a block grant that Denmark gives them. It's 5 billion kroners.
Yeah.
It's around 5 billion kroners. And they take it and they use it for social services and stuff like hospitals, well, healthcare, education, government, any of the social services that government runs, that money helps with that. How is that different from self-governing? Because the things that they actually can govern themselves on, Denmark has no say in it. So if they decided to take the money and spend it on just healthcare, Denmark couldn't do anything about it because they're autonomous of that. They're just not, they don't have autonomy when it comes to the military and to foreign affairs right now. They have no control. That's why, but now, having said that about the autonomy and foreign affairs, y'all seen much discussion about the United States thinking it's going to come over here and take over Greenland and try to buy Greenland from Denmark. And you've also seen, if you've kept up with this, that Denmark says Greenland is not for sale. We cannot sell we cannot sell Greenland because it's up to the Greenlandic people. So Denmark is saying we're not going to sell Greenland, but it's also saying that it's up to the Greenlandic people what they want to do. And currently, based on polls and all the things that are being said, the Greenlandic people don't want Denmark running their country anymore, but they don't want the United States of America running it either. They want to become an independent country. The problem with it is they want independence really bad, but financially, they don't have the infrastructure for it yet. So many are saying we're just stay with Denmark until we can become totally independent because they don't want people coming over here and taking over their country and treating them like, putting them. Some of the comments have been made as, I don't want to be put on a reservation. And I don't blame them for saying that because, history dictates what happens to indigenous when people colonize. So right now, the Greenlandic people are saying, you're not going to recolonize us. No, we're not doing this. So, and hopefully it'll stay that way. So currently Denmark, the best way for me to explain how this works with Denmark and Greenland and the Faroe Islands is if you think about the United States of America, you have 51 states. Each state has its own government. Each state makes its own laws and rules and expects their people who live in their state to follow these rules. Now, they do answer to the federal government because the federal government gives them funds. But for the most part, each state runs their state in the way that they want to run it. So if you look at it from that aspect, this is how Denmark and Faroe Islands and Greenland is run. Greenland's like a state. Faroe Islands is like a state. They still have to answer to their main government, which is Denmark, but for the most part, everything else relating to government that takes care of running the countries, doing the rules, making laws, making sure people have what they need, taking care of the people, that's all done by the Greenland and Faroe Islands. So it's just like the 51 states taking care of each of their states and the people who live in it. So think of it like that.
Copycat, I'm sure that won't be necessary unless the president really, really wants us.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
That would be a very. It's in. Right now we are like in the middle of we're the center point of everyone's attention right now because Trump wants us.
The geo spotlight is sitting on Greenland right now. So there's lots of things that's being said. Since we're talking about this, we're going to talk a little bit about and this is not political. A lot of what we're talking about, this is just life with a country. So anyone who thinks I'm trying to go political, no, I'm not. I am telling you like it. We are telling it like it is. So the biggest discussion that has made an appearance in the last, 2 weeks now, has been the discussion about cryolite. How many of you guys know what cryolite is? Put a heart if, no, put yes, you know what it is. No, you don't know what it is. Let's see who knows what it is and who doesn't. Hi, Michael. And then, yep, here we go. I'm going to make sure I can see. Yeah, we have no military support. We have military support. Denmark gives us their support. We just don't have our own personal military right now. But Denmark just gave what, 17.5 billion? 17.5 billion kroners was just given to Greenland to help beef up security. And the security is going to cover underwater stuff as well as along the outer perimeters of Greenland. Now, do we as Greenlanders know what that's going to involve? We don't know yet. The politicians are working, the people who run the country make the laws, they're making decisions on how they're going to do this. I do know that the politicians of Denmark have been talking to the EU along with NATO, and NATO, more than likely, if things escalate, NATO is going to put boots on the ground here in Greenland. They've already discussed talking about putting boots on the ground, so that may happen just to keep people out, that don't belong in here. I don't care what, I know what Trump wants. Anyway, let's talk about cryolite.
Somebody asked you which is the 51st state.
Did I say 51? I meant 50, sorry. Canada is not the 51st state. I'm sorry, I meant 50. I guess I've heard so much about 51, it's in my brain.
Where was
it? It was right there, I see it now. Okay. I misspoke. It was supposed to be 50 states. I'm so sorry. Okay, so people are saying no, they don't know what cryolite. Lana knows what it is. Okay. Colleen says she doesn't know what it is. Okay. So when World War II was going on, and I'm going to be reading some stuff to you in a minute, and I'm gonna share the screen so you can see a picture of what cryolite looks like. When the Nazi occupation happened with Denmark, where they were occupying Denmark, Greenland was unprotected. And there was some, I guess, back channel chatter about China and another country thinking about snagging Greenland while Denmark was being occupied by the Nazis. So the United States contacted the Danish crown and said, hey, we can put Greenland in our protection, and we'll put in some military on the ground and Greenland to keep other countries from basically land grabbing. And so what they did was they put a military base way up north, which used to be called Thule Air Base, but now it's called Bidefik Air Base. No, not air base, space
station.
Space station, which is the strangest name because somebody called it Space Command. We all know who that was. But anyway, they put that up there, and then the airport that you've heard me mention multiple times about getting on a helicopter and going from here to Narsarsuaq. Narsarsuaq used to be called Blue West 1, and there's barracks there. There's still some barracks left there. There's also a mountain where they hollowed it out to put all their munitions in there. And then they also had a small air base with a small runway over off the east coast, and you get to say the name of that town. Idu, the big long one. Yeah, it's a really long name. How do you spell it? And I'll put it in there. You want to just type it instead of trying to tell me? He's going to type this other town's name because it's really long.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought it was 2 minutes or something. Yeah, there it is. Do you know what that means?
It's more like not exactly sure. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if you knew what it meant or not. I don't know if it's in this book. I don't know. Look and see. It might be in there. Anyway, this was called Blue East something. I can't remember the name of what they called that one. So they had three places to land aircraft. Then this town that we live in, Kokordak, which means white in Greenland or in English, they put a big radio station up at the top of a mountain that's right near the harbor, and that radio station is still there. Now the museum has turned it into a museum style where you can go and see all the stuff that was inside the radio station. And so they did all of that during World War II. But what else they were doing is they decided to mine cryolite. And for those who don't know what cryolite is, it was used to make ordnances out of, big ones, like you put in an airplane or in to shoot guns, or from different types of military things that would shoot bullets out of. So I'm going to share my screen because I'm going to show you what it looks like, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit because it's an interesting thing about this. And this is geology, so we're going to be doing a little geology lesson here at the same time. I hope and I won't be able to see the chat for just a minute. I'll put the chat on here in just a minute so I can see it. All right, let's share the screen. It's not in there, is it?
I don't think
so. Okay, now I need the chat screen back on here. Can everybody see that? Let me know. Say yes, you can see what I'm sharing. And then I need the chat screen. What do I have? Okay, I can now see the chat screen. Okay, this is about cryolite. And this is a picture of what cryolite looks like. It's a white color. And then we're going to talk about what it is. It's called, the Greenlanders call it the ice that never melts. Cryolite is something of an enigma among minerals. It is rare, and only significant deposits is located on the remote coast of Greenland. Nevertheless, cryolite was once of critical industrial and strategic importance. It is the only mineral that has ever been mined to commercial extinction. Cryolite is sodium aluminum fluoride, aluminum and fluorine, and sodium. It crystallizes into a monoclinic system but occurs primarily in massive forms with a hardness of 2.5 and a specific gravity of 2.98. Cryolite is much softer and a bit denser than quartz, usually colorless, white, or gray. It is transparent to translucent and exhibits a vitreous to pearly luster. Cryolite is not only ice-like in appearance, its name, which stems from the Greek words cryos, ice, and lithos, or stone, means ice stone. Greenland's indigenous Inuit called it cryolite, the ice that never melts. Cryolite was the commercial source was located in Ividu. Oh my gosh.
On Oslo Fjord.
And that's what name big town it's near. Pamuk. So yeah.
South of Pamuk.
So it's off our southwest coast. Also present was pegmatite, which I don't know what that is. We're just going to ignore that part. After studying specimens collected in Ividu, the Danish physician Peter Christian Appelgaard described the name cryolite in 1799. Mining began in 1854, with cryolite first used as minor source of aluminum, and then as a raw material for manufacturing caustic soda, sodium hydroxide. Because the Greenland climate limited mining in the summer, miners flooded the pit with seawater in the autumn to prevent it from filling up with snow. Each spring, they would break the ice and pump the water out. And between April and October, when the sea was clear of ice, ships loaded the cryolite to delivery to ports in Europe, the United States, and Canada. During the 1930s, the availability of synthetic sodium aluminum fluoride began to reduce the demand for natural cryolite, but during World War II, the critical need for aluminum demanded huge quantities of both natural and synthetic cryolite. Because of Ividu's strategic wartime importance, the United States Army troops guarded the mine to prevent it from falling into German hands, and the production peaked in 1942. Now, I'm going to share one other thing with you guys, but I have to share the screen, because the reason I brought this up is because there's discussion going on. There was a documentary posted about cryolite. I need to find this. Hold on a minute. Bear with me here for a minute. Nope, that's not it. Okay. Uh-oh. I think I just made a boo-boo. Hold on a minute, y'all. Where did it go? Okay. Now I'm going to share a screen with you. This was because of the documentary, and you'll see what the picture of the mine looks like. And Nikolai will be right back. Okay, this is what the mine looked like. So the documentary was talking about this mine and who benefited the most from it. And basically how much money was made off of it. So 400 billion kroners went to Denmark. 400 billion kroners went to the United States. 0 went to Greenland. This is why Greenland is wanting to be independent, where it can control who gets what and they get their money out of it. So that's what I wanted to share with you. That's what's been discussed for the last week and a half. It's been a big deal because apparently when the documentary hit the TV, it became a big deal coming across Facebook. Okay. I can believe that 51 gets into the work. Yeah, I'm sorry, Colleen. Y'all have to excuse me when I say 51. I did not mean for that to happen. Okay. So what does Greenland have that everybody wants? So, you know that the ice cap covers about 80% of Greenland. And the ice is melting at a fast rate, especially along the outer edges where things can start happening. So we live 2 hours away by boat. Now, if you went by helicopter, it would be 15 minutes. There's a town called Narsok, and there's this really enormous mountain that sits in the backdrop of Narsok. And I'll have to find a picture of it because I've taken many pictures of it. And we've actually hiked up half the mountain. Inside of that mountain has uranium. And we're not talking a little uranium. We're talking about enough uranium to supply many nuclear plants. This is why so many countries are looking at it. But for the last 12 years, the answer from the Greenlandic people who, because they vote every year about this thing, every year for the last 12 years, the answer has been no. We are not mining uranium. We are not ruining Narsok. We're not ruining the ice cap down here. Somebody found the name Big House Dwellers. That's interesting. So they don't want that mountain cracked. Now, could that mountain make Greenland independent? Yes, it could. If it was sold to the right country who wouldn't come in and exploit all of the uranium and Greenland end up with nothing. Does the Greenlandic people want to risk destroying nature? No, not right now. But there's other things that can be mined. There's a lot of rare earth minerals. There's right now they've been mining rubies, and that's doing pretty good. There is a couple gold mines, but gold's not that big of a deal here because it's not enough of it. But I think the biggest thing is going to be open for discussion is rare mineral stuff that has to do with technology. That's probably where most of the discussion is going to happen. And of course, they're going to keep on trying to get, Greenlanders to say yes to their uranium. And we'll see how long they hold their ground about the uranium. It's just all because they have such a deep respect for nature, and they know that if they crack that mountain, it's going to ruin water and nature and the ice cap that's close to it. What do you say about the uranium mountain?
Nope.
See, even he says no.
I have heard that when they do some drilling, where that uranium is, nearby animals or the nearby sheep farmers, they're stuck, or what do you call it, stuck animals?
Yeah.
Their liver get kind of get bad.
Yeah. When they were mining the cryolite, because I did more research on this cryolite, there was actually pollution that happened out of that mining and out of that mine. It polluted all the water within kilometers of that area. It polluted nature itself. It got into the food source like fish, what's shellfish? What's the name of that shellfish? Not clams, mussels. That's it. Because Ellie likes to harvest mussels. There's mussels that grow up here, believe it or not, in this cold water. All along the rock line between the water and the rocks, it grows there, and that's food. It's a food source. And when they were mining, all of that runoff totally polluted that entire area around it. And and I can show you pictures, and I know you've seen them on TV and stuff, but what happens when you mine and you dig and you dig and you dig, and that hole gets bigger and the mine grows wider and taller, and all of nature that was beautiful around it's gone. And that's what Greenlanders are worried about, is if they say, yeah, let's mine this, or yes, let's mine that, what's going to happen to their country? They're not going to have nothing to be proud of. Colleen says, I hope the mountain is left alone. The impact of the American Army Corps of Engineers on the Yukon during World War II has never recovered. Yeah, here's the thing about military. They come in and they set up camp wherever, and they bring all of their equipment over to wherever it is they're at. So over off the East Coast where they had set up camp and built that runway and everything, there is thousands of barrels of spent fuel just rotting away into nature over there. They left all of their garbage. They did not put it on a ship and take it back to the United States where it needed to be taken. They left it. So now it's polluting nature there. So Greenland has, since 2009, I guess, they've been trying their best to try to clean up some of it. And it takes money. It takes a ship. It takes equipment to come and pick up all that stuff. And some of it's already leaked into the water source there. So there's not much they can do about it except let nature do what it does. And hopefully, eventually, the water won't be messed up there anymore. So, that's what you look at. You want to talk about food?
Oh, talk about food, huh?
How many of you want to talk about Greenlandic food? Because that's what we're going to move to next. And then we're going to talk about I have some things I want to show you guys. So today, in our freezer, we have whale meat, whale fat, amasat, which is a type of fish, which is in the smelt family. What else were you going to show them? You said seal, but we couldn't see that because it's packed weird. Yeah, it's cloudy and you can't see it because it's been fermented. So we're going to show you what whale meat looks like, and you're going to see what I mean when I tell you it looks like beef. And we'll show you amasat, and then you're going to hear Nora carrying on because Nora can smell the fish, and she's crazy for amasat.
Oh, the smiling face.
Oh, yeah, and bring that sheep's head.
The smiling face.
So I'm going to tell you a story we'll start with that one first, babe, because this is the first time I've seen anyone eat it. Okay, when I told you that Greenland doesn't waste anything, I am not kidding you. This is a head of a lamb, fully intact, eyeballs and all. See that? When I got to go sailing with Nikolai on the Kakotsia, because they were sailing it to Denmark from Nuuk, they had fun at my expense. So one of the nights, Anda, the chef, cooked a bunch of these. And when I walked in, I'm like, what the hell is that? Nikolai told me, I said, I'm not eating that. He says, well, I don't know what you're going to eat. And it was a tease because they made me think that Anda didn't cook other things. And I'm like, well, I told him I'm just going to starve to death then. But this is something that Greenlanders love to eat. They will cook this up and eat everything in it and off of it, except the bone. That means even these. This is a delicacy for Greenland. Oh. Now, how many people did I just gross out? The next thing that they like to do, this is it's Greenland. The Greenlandic word is amasat. So it's really tiny fish. It's in the smelt family, and they capture it and then they dry it on racks until it's dried. In nature. And then this is usually eaten during the winter months. Now, people eat them in the summer months too, but what I'm saying is this was part of what they did. They would dry amasat, and they would also dry cod. And this was what they could eat during the winter months. Now, you have to pick her up and put her in a chair. You want to see a dog go crazy over fish? I used to think that only cats like fish. See, she already knows what I got in my hand. Watch her elbows.
Give me a go.
Go to daddy. Because we're gonna watch this. You want it? You see it? The dogs love fish. Can you not swallow it?
Hi, Deb.
Hi, Deb S. Welcome. Okay, so the next thing we're going to show you is kind of hard, but it's frozen. But this is whale meat. It looks just like beef. He likes to make whale soup out of it, but I don't eat soup that cook. I don't eat anything that boils red meat of any kind.
Chicken.
So that includes beef. And this is
whale blubber.
Do you call it matok, or is it just for the narwhal?
Just the skin.
I see the skin, but
this is
this is not madeg?
No, that's not exactly. It's a whale blubber.
Okay, so what's the difference between this and Medeck?
The Mythic is a bit thicker than.
Thicker than this one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So this is actually whale blubber. So you can see the skin down here. And then all of this is the blubber. So what they like to do, what Greenlanders will do with this. Now, sometimes Nikolai will cook this in with his soup to put an additional fat in it. Deb S says, I'm not visiting Katie. Hey. Oh my gosh. He's awesome. But a lot of times Nikolai will eat this raw with dried fish or with omasat. Yeah, they'll put this with omasat, or they'll put it with smoked salmon, right?
Nah.
No, the salmon's got a lot of fat in it too. So those were examples of what we have in our freezer. We also have, hey, grab salmon. Yeah, see if you can find a big one that had been cut in half. I think we cut them all in half already because I wanted to make smaller meals. So this is Northern Atlantic salmon. And this is just one piece of a whole fish. But see how nice colored it is? This is fresh, wild caught salmon. This is not raised on a farm. This doesn't have pollution in it, nothing. And every fall is when we can go fish for salmon. And it's so easy to catch them, it's crazy.
Brenda, we have a quotas for whale. How many we can kill about whales?
And also, since you mentioned about whales, I want all of y'all to understand, Greenland does not have whale ships with big harpoons on them. No. These are individual hunters in small boats with a rifle. And that's how they hunt whales. And there's a quota on them. They're only allowed so many a year. And I don't know the quota right now for whales, but I rarely see more than 2 or 3 killed a year, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
and usually they're Mikis that we were. I think.
She wants more.
You're not getting any more, little piggy. Little piggy. She's licking her chops, wanting more fish. She must smell it on my hands because I touched it. Probably in the 13 years. In the 13 years I've lived here, I've only seen Mikis for the most part. One time someone got a humpback, but it's rare when that happens because mostly they like to hunt Mikis. But having said that, if you were further north, narwhal is the name of the game if they can get a narwhal, because the narwhal has the long tooth on the front of them. They value the narwhal over all whale meat. It is the delicacy. Is what they say, because it's tender. The what they call Medeck, which is a type of, is part of the skin and fat and blubber. They love it. They don't kill a lot of them though. Or, I shouldn't use that word. I can't help it. Yeah, the unicorns. Sea unicorns. Yeah. But you will also find that narwhals run with belugas. And so every now and then someone will get a beluga and eat a beluga, so that happens sometimes. I don't know that I haven't heard anyone killing an orca though. Have you?
It's rarely.
It's like rare if it happens. They really like Mikis the most, because Mikis are small sized whales and they're very populous. So, when they take 2 or 3 out of nature, it doesn't harm the whole community or pod of whales. And because they have such a deep respect of not taking more than they need, this is why you don't have game wardens in their boats running around here with a rifle threatening to injure a Greenlander because they're worried they're going to break the law. They don't break the law. They really don't. Muskox and polar bears are a different thing along with reindeer. Now, reindeer, I don't know what the quota is on how many you can kill. I think I heard it was 5 per family or something.
Or it could be more. Depends on if you are free license or hunter license.
Yeah, I think I heard this past year it was 5 per family, but I'm not sure if that was accurate or not. But somewhere around that range, they can kill 5 during only during reindeer season. They do not hunt or poach outside of the season because they can get arrested for that. But none of them ever do it. Muskox, muskox and polar bear are different. Muskox is a lottery, and you pay money. You go through a certain kind of education, and then your name is thrown into this pot. And then when it's time to cull the herd, they'll draw names out of the lottery, and whoever's name is drawn, they would fly up north to go with the game warden, and the game warden would say, you can shoot this animal. Now, about the muskox has people that like to come from other countries who are trophy hunters, and Greenlanders don't much like trophy hunters at all. So they make it really hard for a trophy hunter when they come here. They have to pay exponentially a lot of money. They have to spend a week in education. Then the game warden takes them out to where the herd is, and he says, you can only kill that one. They only get to keep the horns, the skin, and I think it's 10 kilos of meat. But that hunter has to haul the whole animal down to where they came from. The game warden doesn't help him carry any of it. And they do this to teach them that if you're going to come in here and trophy hunt, we're going to make you work for it. And then you're going to give the rest of the meat that comes from that muskox to the locals. And that's what they do. They give the rest of the meat to the local people. And that's how that's handled. Polar bears, on the other hand, right now the current law is 6 a year. Now, last year, we had a record number of polar bears down here in South Greenland. And the reason that happened is because there was ice. The sea ice from the northeastern part of Greenland broke apart too early. It got steered down here, and it landlocked all of South Greenland from the 3rd week of February until the 2nd week in July. No one could get in and out. And on that ice was polar bears everywhere because they got stuck on the ice because they couldn't swim the land. Then when they got down here where they could, it was creating quite a bit of issues. One of the things was I was in the United States when this happened here in our town. I've lived here 13 years. There's never been a polar bear in this town till this last year. While I was in Raleigh, a polar bear on the backside of the lake had gotten off the ice. He come through the valley, walked all the way across the lake, past our house, all the way down the side of the road, down to the harbor. He walked. He didn't touch anything. And he did it in the wee hours of the morning. So by the time he got down to the harbor, people were getting up and going to work. That's when they spotted him. And there was pictures of where you could see he had traveled across the lake, and you could see where he stopped, and he was trying to break the ice in the lake and couldn't break it because he was hunting for food. That's why he was stuck there, because he was hunting for food. And so that bear got dispatched because he was a danger to humans. And then there's other areas where a mama bear and a baby bear, a lady come walking out her back door in Nanotalik, came face to face with a mother bear with her baby. She was just standing there. And she turned around and she went back in her house. And by the time the game warden come, the bears were gone. So, and they didn't even have to, and that mama bear and that baby bear traveled from Nanotalik all the way to just outside of our town. That was when she was seen next. Now, I don't remember. I think there was 11 bears seen, and out of the 11 bears, there was 7 or 8 dispatched, I think.
I think so.
They had to dispatch about 7 or 8 of them because they couldn't scare them away from the towns and away from the sheep farmers, because there's 31 sheep farmers in South Greenland. And so when we say you can only hunt 6, if you dispatch bears because they come into human settlements, that counts on that quota. So if you dispatch 6 bears because they came into different towns, then no one can hunt a bear that year. And but having said that, so if a bear is killed, say in this town, because he wouldn't leave, that meat goes to this town. I'm not sure who decides who gets the skin, but normally the skin ends up at Great Greenland and they tan it, and then I don't know if they sell it or if they have a lottery where people pay like a raffle on it, and whoever's name is John gets the skin after it's been tanned by Great Greenland. I'm not exactly sure what happens with that. Do you have any eggs up there? Seabird eggs during the summertime. There is discussion because we had a there is no bird flu in Denmark. That's where our eggs come from. And when we had that shortage where there was about 7 weeks and no eggs, it was because something happened with shipping between Denmark and us, and they couldn't get in. I don't know exactly what caused all of it, but we didn't have eggs for almost 7 weeks. And so there is a discussion about maybe possibly putting in a small chicken farm so that people can have chicken eggs. So I don't know where that's going to go. It's just been in a discussion right now. I know, Michelle, I would have just been happy to take a picture of it. I would have stayed with that, out of range of him, but I would have loved to have gotten a picture. That would have been the coolest thing ever. Brenda says she bought Alaskan wild salmon today. Yum! Did you know that some of the salmon that are in Greenland come from the United States? Every year, the United States fisheries something set free thousands of salmon, baby salmons. And by the time they reach a certain size, they end up migrating to the north. And a lot of it migrates to us. And then it stays here. So they have scientists who come in. In fact, I think this past year there was a quota, wasn't there?
I think so.
Yeah, they had a restriction this year on how many salmon we could fish for. And the restriction was just so that the scientists could do a study to see where the salmon population was versus what's going on with global warming and everything else. Can chickens live there? Yes. There is someone in our town that has a few chickens. I think 5 or 6. No. Can I convince my husband to let me have some?
Oh, no, you don't.
See, he keeps saying no. I keep getting the word no.
We already got this one here. That's enough.
Yeah, we would have to build a house, and a chicken house, and it would have to be heated a certain way. And then there's the issue of, because of where our house sits, we are always getting buried in snow. And I think that would just add to the issue of how are you going to feed the chickens if you can't get outside because the snow is as tall as you are. So, but I'm hoping there will be a community chicken house, because then we can all participate in that. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some items and tell you what they are. Earlier, you heard me mention ulu, which is a woman's knife. Can I have that? I need this. Okay. Let me have that natural color one. See that one back there? Now we're going to talk about seal. Back in the old days, during the Saukok, Dorset, and Thule age, most of those indigenous people hunted seals as well as they did whales. And there is only 2 seals that are native to Greenland, and the rest of them are indigenous to Canada. And every spring they migrate from Canada and they come here to Greenland to get fat by eating. I don't know why that keeps coming apart like that.
I'll have her.
They come to eat and they come to mate. And then when they've done all of that in the fall, they go back to Canada. So back in the days, there was a seal called a saddleback. This is not a saddleback. And there was one called a hooded seal, and you probably heard of the hooded seal because he has this big, huge thing that comes out. The males do. they ate the meat, but the skin couldn't be used for clothing because the hair on the skin was just too short, and the skin just wasn't pliant enough to make clothing. But what they did do with it is they would shave off all the hair, and this is the backside of a seal. Uh-oh. This is the backside of a sealskin, a regular sealskin. And when they would peel, they would shave all the hair off one side, and they would take this skin and they would turn it into leather, just like cow's leather. It would be very stiff leather. And what they would use it for is the women would take the bone of seal or the bone of whale and make technology needles out of it. And the women would strip these leatherized pieces of leather into strips, and they would sew regular sealskin to make clothes out of it. That's what that was. So those particular two seals were used for that. Now nowadays, the only seals that are mostly hunted is the
Melanie.
harbor seal and harp seal. Those are the two that are only hunted right now. This is a harbor seal, and this is its natural color. Back in the day, when a woman here, hold this. Back in the day, when the men did the hunting, they would bring the seal back, and then the women did the butchering and the processing of the skin, and they would use this, which is called a ulu, a woman's knife. This one has a blade on it, actually, as you can see right there. And they would take the ulu, and there's a layer of fat between the meat and the skin of a seal, and they would take this ulu and they would scrape off all the fat while it was mounted to a rack like what you see here. And this would take days to get all the fat off.
Before mounting it.
Yeah.
Before mounting it.
They were doing it during the melting too.
Okay. Some do.
Some, yeah, it just depends on where they're at. So they would get as much of the fat off of it as they could, and they would leave it on this to dry the skin and to help soften it here. And here in Greenland, or here in our town, we have the only tannery in all of Greenland called Great Greenland. And so now, you made me lose my train of thought. When I do my tours, there's a room called the wet room, and these seal skins, they'll come like this, not colored like this, but they'll be natural like this, but they're big like this. Okay. And they're wet, and they're in these big containers, and these big containers have fluid in it that has certain, what it does is the fluid is made of chemicals that prevent degradation of skins. It stops the decomposition is what it does. And each container can hold up to 700 skins. And these skins are all transported in these big containers with lids, and they'll either be sent down here by ship, or if they're from small settlements in South Greenland, they'll be flown by helicopter to here. And these skins, so if there's 700 skins in a container, that 700 skins is kept together the entire process of the tanning. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, oh, that seems like a lot of skins. We have 1 million seals in Greenland. These are not hunted by commercial hunters. And what I mean by that is, it's the same as whale hunting. A person in a boat, a hunter who is providing for this, a hunter goes out because he's looking for food for his family. Seal is a food for their family. This skin is a byproduct of hunting. It's the same concept as if your husband's or yourself, if you're a hunter, went out deer hunting and you decided to keep the skin from the deer. Same thing. And they have limitations on how many they're allowed to shoot every year as well. These animals are not mistreated in any way. They're totally respectful of how they dispatch them. And a lot of hunters have been hunting for 50 years, providing for their family. So because they don't believe in wasting, They don't want to throw the skin away when they can just sell it to Great Greenland, and Greenland can turn around and turn it into jackets and pants and hats and gloves and boots. The reason this one's colored, this is purple by the way, is the skins are graded A through F. And the best skins from A to C is used for parkas, short jackets, pants, different things like that. But then you have anything that's above a C, the D through F, and for a while there they were having too many of these, where they were the lower rated ones, and they didn't know what to do about it. Then someone had the idea, well, what if we dyed each of these skins different colors, just random different colors, created colored boots, hats, mitts, handbags, laptop bags, you name it, they came up with it. Wallets. I mean, they come up with all kinds of ideas. And then they threw all of it out into the market to see what would happen. Turns out people will buy even colored sealskin. So none of this is getting wasted. None of it. They don't throw it away. They're doing what they were taught for 5,000 years to do. Waste nothing. And it's just like skins from cows. When you kill cows and the leather is turned, or the skin is turned into leather to make belts and pocketbooks and leather pants, or any kind of leather wear that they wear, the thinner leather, it's the same concept. So when you're thinking about this, you're thinking, oh, there's so many. No, they never, ever overhunt. That's why there's 1 million seals in all of Greenland. So if you hear things like, and we've had tourists come through and ask this question, I heard that Greenlanders take mallets and beat baby seals in the head just so they can get white sealskin. No, they don't. Now, I do know that happens in Canada from time to time, but the laws have changed a lot over time, even for Canada. They do not kill baby seals. That makes no sense. Why would you do that? Because you're going to kill off a population that later will feed you. That's just stupid. Just because you want a pristine white hair. That's dumb. So the Greenlandic people don't do that here. And I happen to have this particular one because I liked purple and I wanted to be able to share what a whole piece of sealskin looked like. And for those of you that don't know what the holes are here, because this gets asked a lot on my tours, these are where the flippers were at. Instead of damaging the skin, the hunters don't do that. They just cut around the flippers and leave the skin as intact as they can. But this is extremely soft on the back. I'll tell you a funny joke. First time I saw one of these, I told Nicola, I'm like, I didn't know seals had hair. And he's like, what? He laughed at me. I said, I didn't know they had hair. How could I know they had hair? Because the only time I've ever seen a seal was in an aquarium in water. And when you're looking at seals in the water, you don't see hair moving in the water. It looked like they had whale skin. I was totally not aware that they had hair. And this is how they're able to survive Arctic conditions, right?
Yep.
And this is why they make clothes, because there's two things here about this. We all preach about how to take care of nature and how we don't want nature over, too much being took out. This skin, if it ever found its way into a landfill, this would go back to nature just like any other animal does, dust to dust. A synthetic jacket made from petroleum products takes 100 years to even begin to rot. So think of that. So which is better? Using something natural to stay warm with, or using something fake that might take 100 years to rot? Do the math.
And funny thing about that, during the 1980s, Greenpeace made one heck of a
golly, did they ever
big mess to Greenlandic people for the hunters. And because they're telling the world that we are the one that clubbing the baby seals with that club. But it wasn't true. It was either Canadians or the Russians that did it.
And I agree with you, Zaza, exactly. Yes, they use the skin for clothing, Brenda. Jackets, pants, hats, mitts, boots. I don't have a sealskin jacket because I've adapted to Greenland. And I can't stand to be hot, so I no longer even wear a heavy parka. I've gone to a lightweight parka, and that's because of that. Um, we're gonna show that in a minute. I was gonna say something about the yeah, what was I gonna say? Oh, Great Greenland. About Great Greenland. They used to harvest what 120,000 a long time ago, somewhere around there.
I think so.
Before Greenpeace started doing what they were doing. Greenpeace twice has spread rumors where it caused Great Greenland to go bankrupt twice by spreading lies about the club and the killing of the baby seal and all this kind of stuff. And the government of Greenland set a grant aside. There's money in a grant so that if this ever happens again, where Greenpeace manages to get people to believe what's being said, which human beings, for whatever reason, instead of researching it themselves, they believe what people tell them, will believe these kind of lies. And so they'll automatic, oh my God, that country's doing this. It's the same thing with Faroe Islands. It's a big issue with Faroe Islands because they'll, I'll talk about that in a minute, but so what they did is they set money aside. So if it ever happens again, because Greenland, Great Greenland, is part of the Greenlandic people's culture, the tanning of hides, the wearing of the clothing, all of this stuff. And because they live in the Arctic, this is much warmer than wearing some fake parka. It really is. And it nearly destroyed the economy because of that. So they set a grant aside. And so if this ever happens again, that money will keep the company running so that they never, ever go bankrupt again. This is the government themselves of Greenland protecting a business that needs to stay here because it's part of the Greenlandic culture. And Brenda says, if a lie is repeated enough, people will believe it. Yes. Thank you for coming, Norma. I hope you enjoyed what you were hearing. There is let's see, anything else on this? It is so kind of you both to share your knowledge and experience with us. Thank you. You're welcome, Colleen. Isn't a male seal a walrus? No. Walruses are
like the one that I have here, my t-shirt.
Yeah, they have long tusks on them, and they're twice the size of a seal. And they are meaner than a seal, too, come to think of it. They'll take on a polar bear. And a lot of times the polar bear is like, gets hurt because the walrus attacked them with their tusk. Okay, next thing I'm going to show you, we're going to talk about the tupelec. So what is a tupelec? A tupelec, they call it the Avenger. The tupelec is made of parts from animals and people and used to take revenge. It can look very different depending on the parts from which it is made, and it can have many different abilities. But what all tupelecs have in common is the terrifying and grotesque that they are often skinny and skeletal, which makes the thought of being chased by one almost as frightening as actually seeing one. A few tupelecs, such as, oh my gosh.
Was it Inuit?
Have specific abilities. You can bring a tupelec to life in many ways, but the starting point is often the same. You gather different parts of animals and people, body parts of dead. I'll skip that part. And other parts. The parts are placed by a river and covered with moss, and often spells are said over them. I've also been read where they take all these pieces and they tie them together, and then they put a curse on it, and then they'll go put it in someone's tent. But they don't do that anymore because Greenland was forced into religion a while ago, and so much of the pagan stuff relating to tupelecs and curses and things like that, it's not often done anymore. But they do make tupelecs, but they don't use them for the way we were just talking about. But this is an example of what some look like. then I'm going to show you some I have here with me. But there'll be all kinds of strange little creatures. Pro tip, do not mess with walruses. They are the hippos of the frozen sea. Yes, they are, so long. You put it very well that way. That's why we're all sure Greenland is green, right? I think it's funny about, yeah. No, Eric the Red didn't lie about it being green. So when you hear people say Greenland should be called Iceland and Iceland should be called Greenland, I want to know why people say that. Because Iceland has ice sheets just like we do. They turn green in the spring, summer, and fall just like we do. There's nothing different between either one of us. The reason that Iceland's called the land of ice is because it has more ice sheets. Yeah. It had like, I don't know, back in the day it had 8 or 9 of them. Now they're down to I think 6. And they covered vast amounts of flat land. Here we have one big ice sheet, and that's it.
Oh yeah.
Here's some more.
Remember that during the reading which has coming on.
Yeah. The lights out game. Oh, it's a sexual party. Oh wow. That'd be funny to share. I should share that. Yeah. Okay, here's a type. Here's what else a lot of the artists will make. This is of an Inuit. And this is the front side of it. These are all made from either whale bone, seal bone, or reindeer antlers. So there's this one. Then there's this one. And I'll turn around so you can see the back. But they when I said they waste nothing, we weren't kidding about it. So they take and do all these art things with it, and these get sold to tourists. Now, for our wedding day, which this thing creeps me out every time I look at it, here's another tupelec. This part's made from bone, but this part is made from a certain kind of rock, but I don't remember what they said it was made from. But you notice it has 3 fingers on it. Right here. And I don't think that this was given as in like it's going to put a curse on our marriage. This must have been some type of protection. And I bet if maybe we can eventually find this particular one to see what it means. But it was given to us on our wedding day. So it must have had some significant reason for giving it to us.
Oh, it's just a gift for us.
Yeah.
Because you don't know nothing much about it.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it at the time, so it could have been the reason they gave the gift to something Greenlandic. Because a lot of things they gave us that day, except for that big piece of art up there, we can show them that plate if you want to. That serving plate up there,
yeah, no.
Which is Danish artist. These were given to us, and you'll find earrings made from bone, different styles like the ulu shape. You'll find bracelets, all kinds of different things you'll find. Is that it of the show and tell for that?
Yeah, but you want to share that one?
Yeah, when I was talking earlier in the book about what page was that on anyway?
I can't remember.
It was up front.
Yeah. No.
The one where I had to leave some of the stuff out of it because of some of the stuff it was saying. One of the things about Greenlanders is they have this sense of humor when it comes to natural things like sex. In our town, and I'm going to love sharing Stone and Man with you guys because I'm going to try my best to try to go live where I can walk around and take you on my city tour. One of the places that we'll visit is called Vatican Hill. I have no idea why they call it that, but it's also called the Lovers something. The Lovers Hill or something?
Lovers Bench, I think.
Well, the bench is called Lovers Bench, but what is that hill called? I can't find it now, babe.
That's okay.
I don't know. Maybe you can find it. But anyway, the the bench was made by an art. So back in 1990, from 1993 to 1994, a local artist by the name of Akahu created a program to do an open art museum where they carved on rocks. And they had 17 artists that came from different places. Most of them came from, there was Greenlanders, there was people from Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Iceland, one person from Japan, believe it or not, and one other country I can't think of right this minute. And they all came together in this town, and they spent a year together creating different pieces. And they created 25 of them. And with the lover's bench, on the front side of it, you see two humans. There's no clothing on them. It just depicts two people. But when you go around on the back side of it, it's hilarious, because on the back side, first off, on the top of the bench, there's 3 seats. And the 3 seats have this slick feeling to it. So your butt literally will slide off of it. But down below, there's this metal piece, 3 of them, 1 per seat, and it looks like a tongue. And right above the tongue is a carving of men, 3 men with their genitalia and their legs spread apart. And the reason this artist did this is because that particular part of town had this rickety old worn out bench sitting up there, and she couldn't decide what she wanted to create. And then she found this spot, and down on the ground around that area was condoms. And she's like, because you can see the fjord and everything. I know what goes on up here. People are having sex up here on this bench. So she decided to make the lover's bench to honor that. And that's why I was talking about that. The Inuit in Canada carve soapstone mostly, at least for the tourist market. I think the myths and stories are interesting. I don't believe in them either. I just think it's funny that someone thought naming Greenland was selling a piece. They weren't selling Greenland. It was green when Eric the Red went to Iceland to get his family and his friends. It was just before the mini ice age, and everything down here was green and beautiful like it is now. So it was not a lie. Not at all. They brought all their animals and they brought their animal stuff with them, their farming stuff with them. They farmed for 500 years. Now, what happened to them after the 500 years? No one seems to know what happened to the Vikings. They just poof, they were gone. The last known recording was in the old church there called Havalsi, and that was in 985 or something like that.
I think so.
Yeah, 985. And that was a wedding. That was the last known thing that happened. But after that, they didn't even know that the Norsemen had disappeared from South Greenland until Denmark sent a Danish missionary here to re-Christianize them into their religion. And when they got here, there was no Norsemen. What they did find was Inuits. And so the archaeologists are still trying to figure out exactly what happened to the Norsemen. Some of them think it was because of the mini ice age. They may have either died or they migrated somewhere else, and no one seems to know where they went. I do know that Eric the Red's son Leif, he was the first European to make landfall in North America, which is in Canada. He got there before Columbus did of the United States. So he found that place first. And I think he ended up setting up camp and everything there too, right, babe? Because I don't think he came back to Greenland. Another thing that's really popular, or used to be popular, what is the name of the figurine you were given? It doesn't have a name as far as I know.
It's just a Jubilak.
It's just a Tupelec. That's all I know. It doesn't even have a name on it. It doesn't even have the artist's name who made it. That wood?
That's just bottom part.
I know. It looks like wood in there. Probably Dowling, huh?
Yep. Okay.
This was the other thing that was given to us for our wedding day. This is by Paul Pava, and it's called Be Friends. And this is a Danish artist who created this. And a couple gave this to us for our wedding gift. But isn't that cool? Let's not break it. So I have it mounted. I have it on a stand. We've never served food on it or anything. Okay, what do we want to? What time is it now?
9:30. I think.
So we started at 8, so it's 9. So we've been going 2 hours. And I want to show them the boots, the Chemex. And I want, darn it, I forgot to get the national suit. That's on my other. Okay, so these are called Chemex. And these are not for kids. This is like a decoration. But the way they're built is the same as for a child or for an adult. So this is sealskin with the hair on it, and it's lined with the same thing. This is hand embroidered. All of this and this is all hand embroidered, and it's made from the same stuff that this part of the boot is. This is sealskin. This part here is the hair was shaved off and then turned into leather, and all this embroidered decoration was the same thing. It was created from the same material after it was leatherized. Then they dyed it. Then they cut the smaller stuff into pieces. Footwear, boots made from tanned leather, can be long or short, according to the book. And then they take and they embroidered all of this onto the boots. And this is what the bottom of the boot looks like. Next time we go live, I'll be sharing with you real national suit, because I have photographs with the young girls that, my boss's daughters. And we sat down and she took out their national suits and let me photograph the parts of it. And I'll be able to tell you what each part is made from. But these are little Chemex that you can buy from a museum or anywhere that sells tourist stuff. But these were given to me. Weren't these given to us on our wedding day too?
I think so.
I think
anniversary.
These or anniversary. Oops. It was either given to us on our wedding day or on our anniversary. I'm not sure which. But aren't they super cute? And I love the handwork. I did not know that you could embroider with leather. It is truly amazing. Okay. Now I think I've showed you. Oh, we missed one. We missed another. And this is I swear that looks more like a bear to me or something.
That's a dog.
Here's another thing made from bone. Some of the artists in Greenland are super talented when they make things like this. Probably a sledge dog then.
I think so.
Yeah. I need that to go where it can't get broken. Because if it hits. And then they also will do things like this. They'll make letter openers and the handle will have bone on it. Yeah. Now do I have everything? I think so. Okay. All right. Do you guys have any? Oh, let's talk about the poll. All right. Let's see how many people have answered the poll. Okay. The question was, when did Greenland become autonomous? Autonomous means that they have a say in everything, even though they still have to clear certain things with Denmark. They still have a say in it, like the sale of their country. Denmark can't just up and sell it. The Greenlandic people make that decision. That's what makes them autonomous. So I asked, what date do you think they became autonomous? And 32% said 1979. 2009 had 42%. 2015, 16%. in 2011%, and that was with 19 votes. The right answer is 2009. Hey, Kevin. Hello, hello, and welcome. Okay, so what do Greenlanders want to happen with their country? They want to become an independent country. They don't want to be tied to Denmark. They don't want to be tied to my own country, which is fine by me. But as I stated earlier, it's going to take time because it takes money to become an independent country. Plus, you need a military to fend off all the wolves. I mean, the list is endless. When will they become independent? I don't know. I would love to see it in my time, but I really don't think it'll happen in my time. Do you think so?
Nobody
What's your
knows for
thoughts?
sure.
What's your thoughts on when it might become independent?
Not, I don't know, not exactly sure when it will happen. There have been, it's it's still debating on it, and to try to put it on try to put a pressure on it so we can be independent. But if we get independent, then we will be like Iceland, but we need to try to make our own money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it will be. We'll see how it goes.
You know, I was reading some stuff on Iceland. Iceland is their crime rates are low like Greenland is, and they don't they support themselves on what they have in the land, and education and healthcare is taken care of just like it is here. I mean, there's a lot of things they do without any money from any other country to do it, and they use thermal their electricity is driven by thermal, what do you call it, thermal power from the volcanoes. And there's a lot of things that Iceland does on their own. However, Iceland's money is worth nothing because they had some kind of breakdown of money there, and so a lot of times they can't use their Icelandic money anywhere else because people won't take it because of some kind of money thing that happened. I don't know what, 10 or 15 years ago. I don't know what exactly happened. I don't know the whole story of it. We hope that Greenland can become independent too. All right. Do any of you want to ask any questions? Because I think this is where we're going to stop until the next, which will be in 2 weeks. We'll be doing another one.
If I'm still here.
If he's still here. I'm hoping he'll still be here so we can do one on, I need my calendar.
It's in there.
Will you go grab it so I can tell him when that date is? So, do you have any questions, or what did you think about what we shared with you today? I know it was 2 hours and we talked a lot, but what are your thoughts on this? Did you enjoy it? Did you not like it? I mean, tell us. What would you like to hear more about? And I'll let you know what the next date is for the next Greenland only video. It's that one I need because that's where I have it at. Let me look at my calendar. February, it'll be February the 25th will be our next one, and we'll do it around the same time again, 8 o'clock, which will be 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'll pick out more subjects because there's a lot to cover. At some point, when I start doing getting more in depth with the history and Stone and Man and a few other things, because Stone and Man's going to take a little while, and it may end up being more than one live for Stone and Man because, first of all, I only have maybe half of them photographed as far as walking around town, and I need to locate where the rest of them are because they're strategically all over town. I just don't know where all they're at. Life. Okay, it would be great to learn more about what's going on, or it is great to learn more about what is going on. The life and jobs in Greenland. Yep, we can talk about that. We can talk about the cost of living. That's a great idea. Let me write those down. Cost of living. Life and jobs. What's more about what's going on. One thing we're going to mention, this happened today. For those of you who don't know about it, hang on, let me find the web address so that you'll know that I'm not lying when I tell you this. But if you go to congress.gov, I think is the name of it, you're going to find out that today Congress decided they're going to be trying to pass some kind of bill or something to start the process of trying to take Greenland. And the goal is when they take Greenland, they want to rename it to Red, White, and Blue Land. That's the name that they want to call it. Yes, you heard me right. Go over there and read it for yourself because it's their biggest day. More about myths, okay? Oh, there's more here about the Tubalek too.
Here's Mythic too.
More about Tubaleks. I will also round up some more pictures. I've taken a lot of pictures of the Tubaleks inside the museum. Canada will be by your side. Yes, it will. Yeah. So will most of Europe.
And Tubalek.
No, yeah, we'll talk more. This book needs to be talked about the next go around, okay?
All right.
All right, because we've been 2 hours in. Who in the U.S.? Congress, the House of Representatives. So go to congress.gov and you'll find it. Please tell people Canada supports you. We will do that. Thank you for that, Shalom. But that happened today, and it's all over everywhere about it. Yes, Canada will be here for you. Thank you, Colleen. I thought that people might treat me differently because I'm an American, but I have lived here long enough now that I have earned my place in this community, and no one is treating me badly at all so far. No one. In fact, they see what I say. Y'all don't see what I say on my Facebook because my Facebook is private to friends and people here in Greenland. But I put myself out there, and I tell you, I don't appreciate any of this because no country, I don't care what country you are, no country has a right in the 21st century to colonize another country. That is totally wrong. It's wrong. I don't care why you think you have a right to it. You don't. These countries have no right to do it. You don't see other countries trying to take over. And it's shameful, period. And it makes me not feel safe anymore. Yeah, I'll get to it. They do have a book. Their culture is beautiful. I didn't even know what culture was until I moved here. That's the funniest thing. Someone asked when I started doing the Arctic guide classes, and we were talking about Greenlandic culture, and I started getting an understanding of what culture was. I'm like, wow, I don't have a culture. My family didn't have a culture, and I didn't, and maybe that's why I didn't know as a 44-year-old woman moving to Greenland that I didn't have an understanding of what that word even meant until I moved here and saw what culture is to the Greenlandic people, because they have worked their butts off hanging on to their native language despite what Denmark's done to them, which is the same of any indigenous, where the people came in and took over their land and then tried to force them into their own language and make them not, and then beat them up if they spoke their own mother tongue. A lot of Greenlanders have spent hours and years give me that book, getting their language into written form and making sure that their mother tongue is spoken first. The other two languages are after it. This is what makes Greenland special. These people believe in family and friends, and they get together. And one of the biggest things that I noticed was they have most everybody that owns their own house or even an apartment. They have very long dining tables, And those long dining tables is so when they get together, a bunch of them get together and they eat and they laugh and they celebrate. And they have treated me like a member of the community. And sometimes if they don't see me for weeks because I haven't gone to town because I've turned into a little bit of a hermit since the pandemic, um, they'll say, "Where have you been? Did you leave town again?" "No, I haven't been anywhere." "Where you been?" "Home." "Well, we miss you. We miss talking to you." So they notice when I'm not around. Okay. I bet let's see. Brenda says you are right. That you have just a little glint of crazy in your eyeballs. Huh? Yeah, it really makes me angry. You have no idea how angry it makes me. I'm sure that's needed in a place where you have to think outside the boxes, right? Yeah. It's not easy living here. When I first moved here, I had no idea. I took a leap of faith when I moved here, mainly in him. But secondly, I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I would adapt because a lot of people who's known me my whole life have heard me say I'd never leave Florida. Oh no, Florida's mine. I'm in love with Florida. I would never leave Florida, blah, blah, blah. I would say that all the time. And that I didn't like winter times, but yet wintertime. And the reason I didn't like winter times is because winter was hard on my asthma. It would make my asthma bad. And that was because I lived in North Florida. And so when I came here for the visit the first time and I had no asthma trouble, I was blown away by that because I came in the middle of December and left in the middle of January. And if it was going to be a problem, it would have showed its ugly face right then and there. And it didn't. And then since I've been here, my asthma is 10 times better than it's ever been. Yes, I have bad lungs and they've been destroyed by my asthma and by pneumonia, but overall, and even though I'm like borderline COPD right now, I'm not on an oxygen thing or nothing like that. And I get out and I go for walks and stuff. I get out of breath, yes, but I don't have asthma attacks. And that's the main thing. Sometimes I have to use my asthma inhaler, but it's way better here than it's ever been my whole life because my whole life I've had to struggle with it and to fight to live, or fight to breathe anyway. And the people here have treated me like I'm part of them. The first 3 or 4 years, I used to tell Nikolai, I feel like a movie star because they would stop and talk to me and smile at me and try to tell me jokes in my language, or whatever. It was always amazing. And then when I started working for Bitsy, and I've been working for her as a tour guide for 12 years, and Bitsy's the type of person, she'll just throw you under the bus and say, "This is what you need to do." She'll show you once, and then she expects. I think that that's how the Greenlandic people are in a way. To adapt, you have to, or to survive, you have to adapt. And if that means throwing someone under the bus, that's what they do so that they can do it themselves. And that's a good thing.
Who was it that asked for the weather here? I mean,
what's the weather right now?
Yeah, I mean, one of them was asking for what the weather was in summertime.
Oh, I already answered that question, but look at the temperature right now. Oh my gosh, that's why the snow's melting.
Yeah.
It is 43 degrees Fahrenheit right now. I thought it felt mighty. That's why this house feels like a sauna.
Yeah, the one that was asking for the weather, I cannot exactly remember, but there's one. Imagine I can only say that. Imagine this. You're coming here to Kokokto, and you wanted to take a tour guide a tour with go to the hot springs. You can imagine this, that when you go down there, you jump in the water. The water will only be like to your chest. It's not that deep. But imagine this, that you're sitting there in a hot tub just taking a relaxation. Out there, right where your view is, that might be an iceberg right there, right in front of you.
Yep, there's icebergs. There's this view of the mountains with snow on the top of the things, and you're sitting in a hot springs that's
37 degrees.
37 degrees Celsius, I think. It's like sitting in a hot tub, and you can feel the little bubbles coming out of the gravel, hitting your body where the warm water's coming from, it you kind of freeze your butt when you get out, but it is the most, there's nowhere like this, because not only because of the scenery you have, but there's no sounds of civilization. You might every now and then hear a big jet pass over way up in the atmosphere, but outside of that, it's peaceful, totally peaceful. Shalom says hot springs are wild. Yeah, they're pretty interesting. It's always, I'm like, what happens if a really hot thing pops out of there? But I guess it doesn't. Yep, forever adept. That's why they were nomadic. Yeah, I mean, they moved up and down the coastline like nobody's business. They followed their prey everywhere. I mean, they even before the Thule age, the Dorset and the Sokok age, they would travel from the Bering Strait all across Canada, all across Greenland, and they would go back and forth doing that because they were following bowhead whales, reindeer, muskox, and something else. And they were also fishing, and they would just travel back and forth. And I told Nikolai, I said, I find it interesting about their being migrators, because it sometimes people here will stay here for 3 or 4 years. Then they'll move to Norsok and stay there for 2 or 3 years. Move to Nanonalik, stay there for a couple years. Move up to Nuuk and stay there a couple years. Move up to Sissymoot and stay for a couple years. Go up higher and stay for a couple years, and then they'll migrate back down here again. They don't stay. Some of them don't stay in any one spot for a long time. It's pretty interesting.
They taste good too. Shalom.
Yeah, they're cute and they are tasty too.
And it can be dangerous too if you're not very careful with it, because.
Brenda says she lives in the country, so it is quiet here. Then you understand about the peace and quiet. I love it. When I get on an airplane and come home to see the kids and stuff, the noise, once I hit the first big airport, the noise is deafening to me. I told Nikolai, it's so loud outside. I've gotten accustomed to here. And lately, even here's been a little bit noisy because they're building the airport and we can hear them blowing up rock, and the house shakes because I hear it and it freaks me out. But it's still quiet compared to flying into Raleigh or flying into Jacksonville. It's so loud and it's hard for me sometimes. Everyone shares what they get. Yep, that happens here also. Yeah, like when they kill a whale, this is funny. When they dispatch a whale, they'll bring it into port, and it only takes one person. That one person will call this person, and that person calls this person, and this person, and it goes like a domino effect here in town, in any of the towns. And by the end of the day, everyone has a piece of that whale. It doesn't get wasted, none of it. It's a beautiful thing. It's the same thing with when people go cod fishing or salmon fishing. Some of the fishermen will take a little extra. They didn't need it for their family, but they know there's people here in town that don't have boats. We don't have a boat. There's people who are not physically able to go out fishing and hunting, so they bring them in and they drop them off down there at the local fish market, and then the local fish market sells them to the locals. And the locals come in and buy what they want. And a lot of times you'll find salmon in there one week, and the next you'll see cod or you'll see reindeer. This past year we saw a muskox for the first time in the 13 years I've lived here. Someone got to go to Pamoot and hunt muskox. And he brought, instead of keeping the whole entire thing for himself, he took what he wanted and then he brought the rest of it to the market and he sold it off piece by piece.
Don't forget wolffish.
Oh yeah, the wolf. We have something called a spotted wolffish. They have spots on them, but they have these big long teeth on them in their mouth. It's the scariest thing I ever seen.
And they can bite. Man, they can bite.
Yeah, well, that's why I would never put my hand anywhere within a mile of their mouth. No thanks. She has 2 pieces of chicken in the. Anyone else want to ask any questions? All right, then. While I'm waiting on you to answer, remember, 2 weeks from today is the next live if Nikolai's here. Wolf fish are scary. Oh, Shalom knows what they are.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they are, and they're huge. Some of them, they're like this big. I thought, but I didn't think salmon got as big as some of the salmon we saw this last year. Some of them, someone came in with some salmon that was, and I'm not exaggerating, they were this big.
Easy girl.
It was crazy how big they were. That must be you going off.
Yeah, that's mine.
And they have these. What is the redfish called? You know the name of it?
That's just a redfish.
Just called red. They live. Their redfish live in the deep. So when they come up, the pressure causes their eyeballs to do weird things.
Even the stomach got
come out of their out of their mouths and stuff. And when I see them, it just creeps me out. There's this one little fish though. Oh my God, it's my nemesis. I swear, every time I try to go fishing for cod, I get in a fight with these. They look like angelfish, kinda, not angelfish. They have teeth. They're small. Nikolai says they're very bony, but it looks like they have little angel feathery fins up here and up on the top of them like this. But man, they will eat your bait before a cod can even get their mouths on it. He's looking up so we can show you a picture of it.
Come on, get out
Find one?
Yep. You do it like this.
That's what it looks like that I'm talking about. That's my nemesis. Wonder if they like rock cod or line. Wonder if they're like rock cod or line cod. I don't know. Long cod. I love cod. But they're fun to catch too. Boy, will they fight.
Oh yeah.
They are big fighters.
No,
but this is the fish that's my nemesis. It likes to rob your bait off your line.
English.
Was it in Danish?
Shoot.
I can't remember what they're called. No, now stop. Is that another picture of one?
It's the same.
Oh, the same one. Okay.
Just started looking at Wikipedia.
Anyway, when I figure out the name of it, I'll just post it in the description box because I have no idea. She says, God forbid if you ever step on one. Yep. They have evil looking teeth inside their mouth. Heck, I didn't know sockeye salmon had teeth, but they got teeth too. I guess you don't walk around in water too much.
Oh,
no,
it's shorthorn sculpin.
It's called shorthorn sculpin.
Yeah, shorthorn sculpin.
Yep, that's what they're called, shorthorn sculpin.
Hi, Judy.
Here, let me write it in the chat. So the fish that I'm talking about, my nemesis, is called shorthorn, sculpin, right?
Yeah.
That's what they're called. Interesting. Hey, Judy Smith. Yeah, I don't actually I don't walk around in any water barefooted because after seeing my German Shepherd get cut by glass at the lake, I'm not walking in the lake barefooted. No thanks.
There are all kinds of fish.
The males do during the run. Interesting.
All kinds of fish.
Oh, there's a wait. There's a really great picture right here.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
Oh, where'd you go? Yeah, let's do this one. Here's what they look like. When you see them in the water, their fins look all like an angel, kind of. But they have some mean looking teeth in them.
She's hot.
It is warm in this house, and we
sorry.
might have to open the door. Okay, so anyway, she says, Judy says, I missed the beginning, but I heard cod, and that is the only fish I love. I love cod. You can also we can also catch halibut here and flounder, believe it or not. They're both found here. Crabs are found. What kind of crabs are they called?
Snow crab.
Snow crabs are found here. Shrimps are found. Northern Atlantic shrimps are here. What other?
Oh, we have many fish.
The list is long of all different kinds of seafood. Hey, Joyce, welcome, welcome. So, mark your calendars for the 2 weeks from today at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because that's when we're going to do. Thank you, Brenda H. That's when we're going to do our next Greenland Live about Greenland only, unless Nikolai gets yanked back to work, and I'm hoping not.
We'll see about that.
Yeah. If you have, here's the other thing I want y'all to do for me. Either down here below, you can do it down below this video if you want to, or you can go over to my community tab and post questions there. If there's questions you want to specifically ask about Greenland that I haven't covered yet, put them there and I'll put them on my list. You've already given me some here already. But if you do that, then we can cover those subjects while we're doing our next one, because I'm just going to be mixing things up as I go along. I'm not going to just stick to one thing, because some people know, and I hope this doesn't get taken wrong, some people will not feel comfortable about some things I talk about, like what we were talking about earlier about Greenland trying to be independent and not be claimed by another country. That is going to come up on and off. I am not going to hide that from anyone, because I feel like Americans need to hear this. The whole world needs to hear this, because no country has a right, as I said earlier, to come in and take over another country. We're living in the 21st century, for God's sake. We should not be doing this stuff. This is totally wrong and not right. And anyone who thinks it's okay, something's wrong. And on the next go around, we're going to talk about the mountain spirit. And didn't I already read that one?
Yeah, you already read.
I read this one. Yeah. So we don't want to read that one again.
The reason I did.
Where's the other one at?
It's already here.
The Man in the Moon is the other one.
Because it's already here. Tail.
Unless y'all want me to read you one more thing, I can read about this mountain spirit. Let's read that one. So this one's called Mountain Spirit. And let me read that real fast. I dropped a photo in Mona's Discord for you, Katie. The nemesis fish that your fish reminded me of. Okay, I'll go have a look. So this is the one I'll read to you, and then we'll go. The mountain spirit. The mountain spirit, also called the intestine eater, or you're going to have to say that word because I can't say that. That's a really long word. In Greenlandic, is most often depicted.
I think you read it in
Didn't we read it in that book?
Yeah, I think you read it.
Then we need to read something different, because we already talked about that one.
Let me see.
Pick one to read that's not crazy. What's this?
Here it is. This is the one that you.
I know.
This is the one that you read about.
So that's the same thing as this one.
Yeah.
What's this? Oh, well, this one might be okay. Now, how do you say it? The one with the crooked mouth is a very clever helper spirit that can tell an Anglogot of things to come and lead the land of the dead. It has a big crooked mouth placed vertically across its face, and it gets very upset if you ask any questions about it. I would get upset if someone asked about my crooked smile. It lives on the no, I'm just kidding, y'all. It lives on the farthest rocks from the sea, which it will leave only when the waters are very high. It is a useful spirit to summon should you get into difficulties during a storm. When you call it, it turns up in a shower of sparks. And that's what it looks like. So it's lighting the way to get you out of danger. He only, yeah, he don't care about anybody but him and his, whatever you want to call him. Anyhow, we will talk more about that too. All right. So thank you for coming tonight. Do you want to say anything before I end this? The smiling. Yeah, but he's got, yeah, we'll talk about that in he's got a knife and he's gonna sneak up and do something.
Nothing much, but I do hope that you have learned some of this little talk we do. I mean, talk about Greenland. I have hoped that you have get some out of it.
And we hope you liked everything we talked about. I mean, this is not exactly easy to hold this type of a live because we're not sewing, we're not crafting, we are talking, and this is not an easy thing. And some of the subjects that we talk about can make people uncomfortable, but at the same time, it's a good way to educate anyone who doesn't know about other. One thing about living, from my point of view, this is my point of view, as an American. Most of you who are Americans will probably agree with this. We grow up hearing things and being told things and being taught things, and we have this worldview of what is an American and what the United States is and where it fits in the rest of the world. But you don't, it's like a bubble. We live in this bubble and we don't think about other countries or have any thought about what the United States, when the United States does something, how it affects another country. We don't think that way because we're not taught to think that way. And then when you move, and I didn't understand this concept, and my sister, she's been living in Spain for, Lynette just turned 38. So she's been living in Spain for 38 years. And she would come home every so often. This is before I made a move. She'd come home and she would say things, and it would kind of tick me off because it sounded like she was being anti-American. She wasn't. She was just merely telling me about what it's like when you're across the pond and how things are different when you're viewing the United States from that side of the pond. And it took me moving here to find my eyes are wide open. The things that most of us hear about are only fed to us through education and everything else. It doesn't come from overseas. We don't sit on our TV watching news from Europe. So we only hear what the United States media allows us to hear. By living over here, I get to hear all of it, even the bad and the good. And that helps a lot. And I'm gained a big understanding that things are not always as we thought they were or how they're run. And one of the biggest things that gripes me the most is when you hear this quote, he's the only leader of the free world, or we're the only country of the free world. That's bullshit. Total bullshit. Greenland's a free world. Denmark's free. Spain's free. Most of Europe's free. But we're fed this lie that only the United States of America is the land of the free. No, we're not. Canada's free. People can live how they want to. No, I don't have handguns in my house. We're not allowed to have them. Why do we need them? We have hunting guns. Well, me and Nikolai don't.
I do have them.
Oh, well, you have one, yeah. But all I'm pointing out is all the freedoms that we take for granted in the United States, everybody over here lives that same freedoms, just certain laws are different. That's all. So you have to open your mind and understand that the USA is not the only free world. There's lots of free world. And I hope I didn't offend anyone by saying that, because I love my country, but I love this country more. I've come to love this more because this is my home and I want to feel safe here. and that and be with this man because this man is my world. And I can't be American in a foreign land and treat my husband as if he's nothing. That's not how this works. I'm here because I love him and I've come to love his country and all of them because I have built a reputation in this community. I'm now considered part of the community and I'm being called a Greenlander. At first, I fought that idea of being called a Greenlander because I wasn't born and raised here. But Nikolai says, no, you've lived here long enough that you've earned that title of being a Greenlander. And he's right. I have earned that right. Just like if he was to move to America and spend 10, 15 years in America, he should be considered an American because he worked, he paid taxes, he's done all the things that a migrant or an immigrant would do. They should be Americans, considered to be an American. Anyway, enough of my soapbox. I love you guys. Thank you for watching tonight. She says hello, by the way. And she can tell you it's hot in this house. Anyway, I love y'all. Thank you for coming tonight. And I hope I didn't offend anyone. And if I did, I'm so sorry. That was never my intent. But I also, I'm telling you how I see things these days. And it's okay to be that way. Everybody has a right to their opinion and to their thoughts and to their beliefs. And I would never say that I'm against the United States. Not the people anyway. I might not like what the government's doing, but everything else I love, so keep that in mind. And see you Thursday night on my live for some more sewing fun. And I don't know what he's going to work on. We'll let you know. So have a great night. Thank you for coming. Remember, live, laugh, love, dream. What do you do from that? You make something. Good night, everyone.
Night, everyone.
And don't forget to go over and comment on any questions you have, okay? I meant to mention that again. Wow, yeah. And look, there's not very many viewers, 17.